With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
I wish I were in Barcelona now. Everyone from Bill Newman to Ed Sheeran to Freddie Mercury has sung about their feelings for this historic Spanish city, but now the GT3 drivers of the Precision Racing League get to express their Spanish sentiment in a slightly different artistic medium, possibly a better medium, the medium of driving race cars muy rápido. Welcome to round 8 of the PRL GT3 series here in 2023 Season 3, live from the virtual Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Hi everybody, Joey Tebbin here, evidently in a sing-song kind of mood tonight. Would you believe it, alongside me is Nick McLaughlin subbing in at the last moment, and late night Hugo Luis is behind the scenes on production duty once more. It's a track that's hosted everything across its relatively short racetrack life, everything from F1 to MotoGP to the 1992 Summer Olympics. It's known for being versatile and also very difficult to pass at times. It's going to be an interesting dynamic as we get into the race tonight, but it's an interesting dynamic in the booth here. We've got a sequence of substitutes so far, and eventually we landed on Nick McLaughlin. Welcome to Race Spot, Nick. Welcome to Barcelona.
Well, thanks for having me. We got some nervous excitement, but we're gonna see how we can do here.
You're Canadian, you can handle anything, we know that. Let's take a look at the schedule here. It's a very similar schedule to what Nick's been used to, because in the PRL, the GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series run exactly the same schedule. It's been a European tour, it's been an American tour. We finish out across the world. Barcelona this week, Le Mans next week, Phillip Island to finish it off. It's going to be a very, very different way to end the season, Nick. 3 totally different tracks. You might be missing Barcelona tonight, but it's a crazy end of the season.
Yeah, Barcelona is pretty technical. Le Mans obviously is Le Mans, a lot of flat out, and Phillip super sweeping. So very different circuits, and I'm kind of excited for all 3 of them.
I'm going to be bookmarking that word, by the way, Nick. Super sweeping. I'm going to be using that for Phillip Island. It's going to be in the Race Spot dictionary. But over the course of those first 7 weeks, from Watkins Glen to Road Atlanta last week, it has been Errol Urexoy's season. Although that points gap wouldn't really tell you that. There's only 5 points between him and Greg Doucette. That's because the admins of the PRL, the driver stewards, have decided that Errol Urexoy's come to their bad side a couple of times. There's been a penalty at Spa that lost him 15 points or 20 points. There was a penalty last week, and the start at Road Atlanta and lost him some more points. He's lost a total of 35 points due to penalties so far this season, Nick. It should be a far more comfortable lead in the championship for Errol Urexoy. It still is, but he's got to be clean for the rest of the season.
Yeah, 35 points lost, and still with a 5-point advantage. It really shows how well he's been driving out there. But yeah, with 5 points, it's anybody's game from here on out.
Trying to outrun the penalties. Eric Kulaga, championship contender last season, might end up being a championship contender this season as well in that Ford, as amazing as that would be. Steven Martinez down in 4th, and Matt Copium Arnold, or just Matt Arnold as we want to legitimately call him, and Ray Dominguez. Both of them have wins this season, have been exceptionally fast, just haven't had the consistency to stick with Urexoy, but there's only 22 points between them with 3 races to go. Anything can happen. Saad, Keane, Hamilton, and Kulaga all looking for their first wins of the season at the end of the top 10. Then it's Vulture Motorsports South in a dominant lead in the team's championship. It may be close for the drivers. It's not so close for the teams. Vulture over 100 points over SGE Esports. And then Throttle Thursday has had a ton of speed this season with Doucette and Carangis, and Matt Dinsmore just hasn't quite had the luck or the consistency to really fight for that team's championship this season. But I think we're going to look for them as real contenders next season. Then SRT Esport Green, Vulture North, Team Beef, E3 Motorsports, Loaded Dice Racing, We Race Esports, and the single car team of Ray Dominguez, Racing Mate Scuderia, down to the end of the top 10. That's enough of the bookmaking for now. It's time to thank all the people who make all this possible, and first and foremost, Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using that Precision 5 coupon code. This coverage is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed and check them out. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And last but not least, new for this season, it's Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography captures your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And certainly, Nick, a great addition to the broadcast package here, giving us a lot of help here on RaceSpotTV, and I know you and I have both fallen into the good graces of Mr. Hedge himself, because he loves seeing our cars in the PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series that comes up tomorrow night, but he loves seeing these GT3 fixed cars as well. It's a beautiful one right here, Ray Dominguez. Those ever-familiar Logitech colors, ever familiar up on the front row of the grid. It's been very, very fast in that BMW so far. 3 poles so far this season. You don't necessarily think about the BMW as the fastest car in the GT3 series, Nick, but Ray has found some exceptional speed in that car. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he finds a way to be faster than the Porsches, but BMW and Ray Dominguez is a good combo. It's a good combo for Greg Doucette, too.
Yeah, it seems to be working well for them. It's what I love about this series. It's the fixed setups. They don't get to play with it quite as much, and it really brings that competition in closer for them.
Andre Bonatti, driver Nick McLaughlin, has competed against in the past, if I'm not mistaken. He was very fast in practice, second in practice, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly. Crosses the line, no improvement for him. There's only a minute left in qualifying, Nick. He's got one more lap, and when you're on that critical moment, when you only have one lap to make things work, how deep is that pressure? How hard is it to nail a lap when you know you don't have any time for error. You don't have any margin for error. You have to nail a lap or else the clock's done. You're sticking in fourth.
Absolutely. It's nerve-wracking, but the key is to stay calm. As soon as you let the pressure get to you, that's where the mistakes come. So you really got to take a breath and just put it all out there.
And remind me, who put it on pole in the PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series at the Indy Road Course last week?
I believe that was me.
That may or may not have been you. So there's a reason I ask you about poles. You certainly know your way around a pole, Nick. There's something in there. There's a lot of numbers in the spreadsheet for you as well. Sully Saad out of the final corner. P8 for the moment. Only needs a couple thousandths of a second to beat Greg Doucette out of P7. He is not going to find it slower on that final lap. It doesn't seem like there's much speed left on the track, Nick, but as the clock ticks to 0, everybody's feeling the ultimate pressure now. Matt Arnold going for one more lap.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do in the closing moments here. It looks like he's pulling away. Oh, and off the wall. That's a tough hit.
Have you done that in practice, Nick?
Nope, I didn't. I haven't even practiced pit entries yet.
Oh, no. I mean,
I may do that later.
Yeah, that may be smart. I assume there's many drivers in here who haven't really practiced the pit entry, because that tends to be something you overlook. You think about pitting and it's just like, whatever. It's you're slow, you're coming down pit lane. Who needs to practice that? But there's a lot of time that can be gained on pit entry, and evidently in Matt Arnold's case, a lot of time that can be lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of the tracks, the pit entries are just so awkward. You have to practice them just lap after lap of entry to really nail it down. And here we are, 2 down the pit row, and they've perfected it.
Perfect. Jared Keane and Nicholas Karangis, I believe, in that sort of duller green Throttle Thursday car. Buck Hamilton coming out of the final corner in one of your favorite cars, Nick, the Ferrari. Still not the car of choice, we can say, but it's been your car of choice in the GT3 Sprint Series all season. He's going to bring it out of the final corner here. Ferrari has not done him well in 29th so far. Does he have any time bringing it to the line? 42.7 to improve on. 42.7 on the next lap. A little bit of improvement. Not much speed there, and still does not seem like the Ferrari is the car you want to have in this GT3 Fixed Series, but let's look at another Ferrari for that matter.
There you go. It's a difficult track for the Ferraris. Certainly the Porsches seem to have a bit of an advantage, but they'll be excited next week going to Le Mans. So a lot of burr for them.
A lot of burr. And also, this is a red Ferrari, no Steven Martinez. That has to add a couple of extra tenths. It adds one single extra tenth for him. Gets into the 142.2s. Still outside of the top 20, though. I think that's just about everybody who's on a legitimate lap. But Ray Dominguez, what a lap for him. Wasn't even at the top of the timesheets in practice. I think he was about 3rd. But over the course of this season, nobody has been faster in qualifying than Ray Dominguez. 3 poles so far in just 7 races. It looks like he's going to make it number 4 here in round number 8. I'm no mathematician, Nick, but that's a 50% pole rate. That's pretty solid.
That's pretty good. He's got it figured out. It's these fixed setups trying to get your qualifying lap in can be tricky. Everyone's got a full load, so you really got to make sure your tires are in the window and put it in.
Well, I believe that will bring us to the end of qualifying. Last couple seconds ticking down on the clock. The sun is out, as it should be here in southern Spain. I believe it's time to look through the grid for this 35-minute GT3 fixed race coming up tonight. Ray Dominguez, for the 4th time this season, puts it on pole. He's got championship leader Aero Urexoy to his outside. Jared Keane was very, very keen, fastest in practice. 3rd in qualifying, though. He's looking for his first win of the season, as is Andre Bonatti, who is also very quick in practice. Matt Arnold has won a race this season, actually won the race we ran last in Spain at Aragon. He starts 5th alongside Peter Muller, still qualifying very well in his second half of the season here. Greg Doucette in championship contention is hoping for some calamity for Aero Urexoy. He starts alongside Sully Saad, and then it's Karangis and Veloz to the end of the top 10. Last week's podium sitter Joachim Backer, P11, alongside Jeff Carollo in his trusty Audi. Unlucky 13th went to Matt Dinsmore. He starts alongside Andrew Venaro. And it's Christopher Rines, Michael Fowler, John Jones, and leader of the Chandlers, Reagan Chandler, down to P18. Jason Finch starts alongside a newly painted Brett Pancari back in the Princess Daisy colors, right ahead of Steven Martinez and Baron Hilton, one of his best qualifyings of the season. Dale Peterson hasn't been able to practice as much as he's normally used to. He's down in 23rd, alongside Eric Kulaga in that Ford. See if he can make his progress through the field. Rodrigo Morales and Waldo Walden on row 13. Head of the second of the Chandlers, Ryan Chandler. He starts alongside Team Beef's Glenn Vanko. And it's Buck Hamilton and Michael Kulaga down to 30th, but the hits keep on coming, Nick. It's a big field. David Morrison, Chet Miller, the last two drivers to set qualifying laps, and Sean Mulholland, 33rd and last. No qualifying lap for him. We'll see if he ends up in the race in a few moments here. We have a short pace lap here, Nick. A lot of tension, a lot of pressure, and not a lot of time to warm up those tires. What are you feeling like, especially at a track like Barcelona where it's difficult to pass? How do you prepare yourself for the start of this race, and how do you start to strategize early?
I was going to say, me personally, I usually get dragged into the booth right about now, so I don't have time to really mentally prepare. But yeah, same as qualifying, you take a deep breath, set your pit strategies, and just, prepare yourself for the go, and don't start like I did at Indy Road.
Yeah, don't start in second gear when everybody else is in first. We've all learned that lesson. I don't actually know what send it is in Spanish, so I wish I did, but I'm going to put you on the spot here, Nick. Arjuna always does that to me. Give me one word. Who's going to win this race?
I'm liking Dominguez's speed around here. It's looking good. If he can keep the tires from going off in the BMW, he's got a good chance.
That was more than one word, but I'll take it. Nick McLaughlin endorses Ray Dominguez. We'll see if he commentators curses him in his first time of going. But for now, it is Dominguez in control of the field, crawling out of the final corner, waiting for the green flag. And for the first time, we are ready to go racing in Barcelona. It is Andale for Ray Dominguez, and we are green for GT3 fixed for the first time tonight. It's a good start from Dominguez, jumping out in the head of the field. But Urexoy side by side with Jared Keen into turn one. Later on the brakes is Urexoy. He's able to clear Keen, and he's able to stick with Dominguez. Very smart stuff up front for the leaders. Benatti stays out in front of Matt Arnold. Deeper in the field, though, people trying to organize, people trying to argue. You see Greg Doucette taking a peek to the inside up over the top of the hill. But other than that, Nick, a surprisingly calm and clean start here for Barcelona.
Nice and tidy. I love to see it. Still some too wide in the midfield, it looks like, trying to sort out their positions early on. It's just important to don't burn up those tires too quick.
John Jones to the inside of Andrew Venaro. You just saw that highlighter yellow and blue Porsche peeking to the inside of the dark blue PlayStation Ferrari. 3 wide down the hill. Little bit of argy-bargy, and there's more than a little bit. Matt Dinsmore ends up turning around Jeff Carollo with that send from Venaro. No damage for Carollo, but he's falling down the order. Kulaga's going to get by him. Punkari's going to look by him. Baron Hilton's going to get into the back of him. It was clean and calm up front, but it's all getting crazy in the midfield as everybody checks up.
A little bit of bumper cars there, one Audi in the kitty litter, but everyone, we got some more action going on here.
I think that's Glenn Vanko around, and you saw one of the BMWs as well in a little bit of trouble. Didn't see who that was in time. I believe that was Michael Kulaga actually in the Ferrari, but look at this up front. It may have been a great start from Ray Dominguez, but it's been a great first lap for Aero Urexo. He's kept within touching distance. Jared Keen has as well. And now we start to get into that familiar GT3 meta, Nick, that you know all too well. Riding in line for the first couple of laps, maybe getting track position when you can take it, but more importantly, saving a ton of fuel when you can.
Yep, save the fuel, save the tires. We'll see how the strategy plays out and what they've prepared here for Barcelona.
An argument deeper in the field, not that much deeper though. Benatti versus Matt Arnold for P4. Andre on the inside, Arnold not able to outbrake him, tries to go for a switchback, but nothing doing there, has to slot back in line in P5. These guys are having a very, very spirited battle for P4, but they do have to be careful. Draft is already diminished in these cars, much to the not happiness of the drivers. So if you've already lost a second to the driver in front, as Andre Benatti has with Jared Keen, you're in very, very big danger. He's going to try and catch back up to him, but if not, it may end up being a battle for fourth here between Arnold and Benatti. Arnold's looking very aggressive.
Yeah, we got a bit of a train forming there. If they're not careful, the leaders will start trailing away from them.
Who else is having a lot of fun here? Eric Kulaga is having a lot of fun down in P21. Jeff Carollo on his recovery drive. We have to applaud this driver every single week, Nick. Eric Kulaga still representing that Ford GT. He knows it's not the fastest car in the field, but it is his car. It's where he's the most comfortable, and it's done him very well this season. He's P3 in the standings. Doesn't quite have the pace of Barcelona here. He's fighting for P20. He's hanging on, though.
Honestly, it's a great fun to have in that car. I ran it for one season, and just it's a blast to drive. You get that raw American muscle sound, and yeah, it's not the fastest, but we love to see it in the field season after season.
If you and I could control BOP, it would be the fastest. We can say that much.
I'd drive it in that case.
Ford Challenge, you never know. I mean, that will happen in the near future with the Mustang in IMSA, and hopefully on iRacing we'll have the Mustang Challenge. And I think that'll be a valid replacement for the Ford GT, but for now, I'm happy to have this, and he's going to be using some of that American muscle you mentioned, Nick, down the front straight here versus Reagan Chandler in the BMW. That Ford GT is very, very fast. Is it good enough on the brakes into turn 1? Yes, it is. Book Eric Kulaga into the top 20.
That was well done. It's a tough corner to pass into. You really got to keep your momentum up, especially into the second sweeper here. So, well done to stick that, and up he goes.
Barcelona, it's very difficult to pass, but sometimes you just need a little bit of straight line speed and it becomes a little bit easier. Jeff Carollo to the inside of Reagan Chandler as well. Is this the fall of the Chandler? It's bad luck for Reagan, the first of the two brothers, leading his brother Ryan as he has been throughout qualifying, but right now he's under pressure from that stealth black entry of Baron Hilton. I gotta give Baron Hilton some compliments here, Nick. This is the highest I think I've seen him run all season. Battling for position in the middle of the field. Clearly somebody has figured out Barcelona.
Yeah, he's looking good. And is that just a straight black livery?
I think there's some spec mapping, but it's stealthy.
I haven't got a good chance to look at a lot of these liveries. There's some really nice ones in the field.
Yeah, they're definitely not nicer than Nick and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but you know that's a hard thing to pass. We ride on board here with Reagan Chandler. We see the zoom. And you can see he's got the blinds open tonight. He's got the windows open. It's dark, but it's definitely getting warm down there in Virginia. Both him and his brother racing from a couple miles apart in Virginia, but this is the way they get together and race as a family. Reagan currently leading his brother and trying not to understeer off the road through the final corner, but that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yep, and it's just a little bit of a lift, maybe a touch of brake, and you're almost flat out through it. I had a chance to put a couple laps of practice in just before the broadcast here, so it's still fresh in my memory, and he's doing a good job.
And by the way, we did hear the news very recently that Nick will get the chance to race in the sprint race tonight. He will be able to hop out of the booth and race for his position there. Justin Prince will be back with us, but we got Nick here for 30 more minutes. We're not going to let him get any more practice than he needs, because it is booth o'clock for Mr. Nick McLaughlin. Jeff Carollo, it's damage o'clock for him. There's a little bit of a crunkle on that Audi. Remember, he got punted on lap 1 in a Dinsmore incident, but we got to look a little bit further ahead. I think there's been a teammate incident as Greg Doucette and Nicholas Carangis falling down the order. That's the 311 of Carangis off the road, and judging by the fact that Doucette's falling as well, there may have been a little bit of civil war there between the Throttle Thursday teammates.
Oh, rule 1 of teammates. Beat your teammate. Rule 2, don't hit him.
You've never broken Rule 2, Nick. That's never happened.
I definitely rear-ended Ted at...
Here it is. Greg Doucette, second in line. Carangis up ahead. Oh, no. No contact made, actually. But Carangis spins right in front of his teammate. Doucette very smartly gets to his outside and only comes away with a little bit of gravel on the tires. But that is not going to go down well in the Throttle Thursday Discord, and they're going to start battling again, as that's Matt Dinsmore in the blue Throttle Thursday BMW behind this battle, and that's Christopher Rhines throwing it off the road, and Matt Dinsmore gets collected. It's going to be a parking lot in the front straight. Matt Dinsmore, or Michael Fowler, rather, involved as well. Terrible luck for Matt Dinsmore. You've had some bad luck in your series, Nick, but Matt Dinsmore has had the worst luck in this series, and it's all happened again.
Oh man, just a touch of the gravel sent him across the track there, and oh, you hate to see it.
And remember back at VIR, Matt Dinsmore started on the front row. His best qualifying in PRL history got taken out on lap 1 by Jared Keane, and now Christopher Rhines off the road, clips the gravel, and absolutely nowhere Matt Dinsmore could go there. And poor old Michael Fowler comes out of the final corner basically blind and ends up T-boning poor old Christopher Rhines.
Yep, just a roadblock. He had nowhere to go.
Oh!
Just a little bit hot coming into that corner. Easily done.
This is when we're happy that we're in sim racing and not real racing, because you do not want to be paying for those Porsche damage fees. Do have to look back up front for a moment here. The two titans of the season, Ray Dominguez and Aero Urexoy, still together, and they have been the class of the field so far this season. Urexoy would have a dominant championship lead if he didn't have a few oopsies over the course of the season and lose all those points due to penalties. He's still in the championship lead, though, and he has been unbeatable at his best. Ray Dominguez has also been unbeatable at his best races. The problem is, though, even though he has 3 wins, does Ray Dominguez, he has not had the consistency. He's had some bad weeks. He's had some spins and crashes and offs and even some technical difficulties last week. But he's trying to beat Aero Urexoy just to send a statement, I can win more races than you, and come next season, I might be the driver who wins that GT3 Fixed Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. He's showing good pace so far. Urexoy seems to be biding his time, so we'll see if he has the pace to get by him or if he's just playing the strategy game here.
We do have to start thinking about GT3 Sprint next season already, because if Urexoy does win this championship, you think he does move up to the Sprint Championship? Does he stay here in Fixed? The I rating, only 1812, would suggest that he might want to stay in Fixed for another season, Michael Terrafino style, but you never know. It might be good to have another season to sort of hone your craft some more and get a little bit more comfortable. Depends on what he wants. He looked like he wanted the position on Ray Dominguez there. Wasn't able to get to the inside or the outside of him, though. All that's happened is he's brought Jared Keane back into the fight.
Yep. For a while there, they had really gapped away from 4th place, but Benatti will be excited to be closing in as well.
So what do you think, Nick? Do you want to be Aero Urexoy right now, 2nd in line? Do you want to be Jared Keane 3rd, saving a little bit of fuel? Maybe do you want to be Benatti catching up here, closing that gap down, you know, having the lap time for the moment? Who do you want to be in this train right now?
I think Urexoy's got the prime spot. He's got the position in the championship. He's got the fuel saving. All he's got to do is be easy on his tires and pressure Dominguez from behind and just see if he'll make a mistake.
I think Dominguez is feeling the pressure here. You saw him very, very wide out of one of the penultimate corners and through the final corner. It's Urexoy, though, that gets a little bit tight. Here comes Jared Keane. He's not keen to hold back and save fuel. He wants track position here. And remember lap 1 when he sent that dive into turn 1? He's going to try and do the same thing on Urexoy, and he's got the draft of Dominguez to help.
Dominguez is loving this right now. If they keep squabbling behind him, he can get a bit of breathing room.
And there's Keane up into 2nd. Had that little bit of draft from Ray Dominguez. Dominguez kind of played the kingmaker there and gave the draft to Keane. But now can Jared hang on? He's on defense instead of offense now, and that is a very difficult place to be. Dominguez is getting a little bit squirrely there up over the top of the hill out of turn 4, though.
Yep, we're at the point of the race. The tires will start getting a little warm. We'll see who's done their long runs and really practice on the heated tires. I know the Porsches tend to get a bit oversteery as the race goes on. So we'll, as long as they can keep that in control, we still got a good race on our hands here.
We can take a look at the weather when we can. It's definitely a hot day here in Spain. You saw the sun just blaring down on the track surface. It's definitely going to be shaking up those tires, although we look at the track conditions now, Nick. We've broken out the radar guns. It is not as hot as I would expect. Only 72-degree track temp. That's actually pretty cool. That's nice weather.
72-degree track temp. Hold on, you have to bear with me while I convert.
Oh, you got to convert it to Canadian units.
Celsius is what we're working with on the track. Yeah, it's not overbearingly hot, but yeah, it's not a cold track either. So,
of course, you had this is the guy who uses kilometers per hour in a NASCAR series. So of course he's got to convert it to Canadian numbers. But we got some European viewers watching. We got some Canadian viewers watching. So maybe they'll appreciate that. Aero Urexoy is not appreciated this last lap, though, Nick. Lost almost 0.6 of a second to Jared Keane. Is this a driver who's starting to fall off, or is this a driver who's starting to save fuel? Either way, he's got to start picking up the pace.
It could be a bit of both. Could be what I was saying. Maybe he's starting to feel those tires a bit. There's a lot of sweeping corners around here. They'll, especially like this one, will really want to eat up that left front.
Very, very long corners up over the top of the hill here into turn 4, the heavy braking zone into Repsol, right underneath that Repsol bridge. They're representing the MotoGP heritage of this place. Then a little bit of straight here into turn 5. But you just saw in the background, Matt Arnold and Andre Benatti, they're trying to kick off another battle as well. They have not been content to ride in line. And that battle we saw kicking off a little bit earlier is certainly spicing up again, just like a Spanish paella. We're throwing a little bit of spice into the mix, and Arnold wants P4. So as we click past about 22 minutes to go here. We do have Justin Prince in the booth here, so we're going to let Nick McLaughlin go. Nick, thank you for joining us here for your Race Spot debut for a couple of minutes. We got to let you go practice your Ferrari, and we'll see you in about 25 minutes.
Always a pleasure to fill in for a little while. Justin, welcome. Enjoy the rest of the broadcast, guys.
We'll try our best. Enjoy your Spanish siesta until race number 2. We'll see if we can get Nick McLaughlin a nice paella. But Justin, welcome to the booth. It's been a pretty calm race so far. It's been like a Spanish summer. It's been smooth sailing. And we got a battle up front between a driver who's won 3 races this season and a driver who has never won in the PRL, Jared Keane.
Yes, thank you very much. Apologies again for the delay. Start of the World Tour for squash, funnily enough. But
Nice.
For Jared Keane, this hunt has been on all race when you think about it with how close it's been and how close you need to maintain. It's very difficult to break away, mind you, in some circumstances. But when you do break away, it's hard to also close up. So at this point, Keane's in a great position here, even in the early stages, because he's got the confidence, and now he's got the position.
Here he comes. He is indeed very keen. Up over through turn 3 into turn 4. Jared Keane takes the lead down the hill into turn 5. For the first time this season, Jared Keane leads the race in GT3 Fixed. He had 1 pole this season over at VIR. Ran into trouble instantly in turn 1 there. But this is redemption day for Jared Keane, and now he's got to hang on for 20 more minutes.
I was about to say, one of the best passing chances that people overlook a lot is if you get to that groove along the right side out of Repsol through turn 4 before you get to the braking zone for turn 5. If you keep yourself side by side by turn 5, guess what? You have some of the most intense fighting you can have it on iRacing. For Keane, just simple. Keep to the inside, force the mistake by Dominguez. Now try and run away. He's already much quicker than Dominguez. You can already see up 5/10 in this past couple sectors. That's going to be hard to beat.
We do have to remember, Justin, before we came on the air, Jared Keane topped practice, so he clearly has a ton of pace, whether it's race pace or qualifying pace. Couldn't quite find the 1 lap speed that Ray Dominguez was able to. Started 3rd, but he made an aggressive move on lap 1 to get up to 2nd. Has made an aggressive move, or an aggressive move later on in the race to get by Ari Rexoy. Has made another fantastic move to get by Ray Dominguez. And now, where is that race pace going to bring him? Can he continue to extend this gap over Dominguez? Will he be comfortable once pit stop time rolls around? That's going to be coming in a couple of minutes' time. We're almost to halfway.
Yeah, and keep in mind as well, even in the midst of this, you talked about your Rexoy. That's kind of going to be the major difference in this equation here because of them swapping around, that Porsche has a good chance. And from what we're already seeing in the early going, can already tell you based on the sprint splits as well, the Porsches are very comfortable here at this racetrack for good reason with the balance. So if you're not in a Porsche, it's not going to be as easy.
I believe in Spain they would say no bueno, and I think that's what you're going to be experiencing in that BMW. It was very fast in qualifying, very fast in the opening stages of the race. But Ray Dominguez finds himself with an uphill battle in a sandwich of Porsches. If you look at the top 10, 1 through 7, only one of those cars is a BMW. 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, all Porsches. It is a Porsche party up here in the top 10, and Ari Rexoy wants to make it a Porsche 1-2. He hasn't quite had the pace to stick with Dominguez. He's been falling back little by little, was a couple of tenths slower, I believe, on the previous lap, but out of the final corner, is Rexoy comfortable enough to get a run? He looks smooth. Is he fast enough, though?
That's going to be the difference maker right now because you may have a car that, let's say, even in the midst of a fixed series, such as the side of the card, where you can balance things up in terms of some of the setups, but you still have a car that likely can be stronger than another and so forth, hence why the Porsche is so popular. However, it's also down to the driver when you have that setup because you can't adjust anything really in preparation for the car for a race like this. You basically have to just run it like the setup is, and if you aren't comfortable with the setup, you're in a bad spot. So for your Rexoy, he needs to figure out how to get comfortable and quick because he is not in a good spot compared to Keane's comfortability. And right now, Keane's comfortability with that top speed from practice, mind you, you mentioned carrying over, is absolutely breaking away by at least a tenth of a second per corner.
up through TV3 here. A confusingly named corner. It's actually turns 7 and 8, but it is called TV3. And then up over the table here, sort of in turn 9. Very high-speed corner. Have to make sure not to go too far wide there, or you get one of those critical and tricky 1Xs. Justin has just posted in our production chat that TV3 is apparently the public television broadcaster of Catalunya, where this racetrack is. So you learn something new every day. You never know when you're going to learn about the Spanish television industry.
Been around since the 1980s.
Well, that's older than the track.
Either way, though, that speed of the BMW, now that the draft is gone for Dominguez, you're seeing that raw difference of the BOP. Now there's the draft effect for your Rek'Sai, Benetti, yeah, Matt Arnold also in that draft train. Not going to be too easy for Dominguez to hold on now that he has no toe from Keen.
No toe whatsoever. He's just looking in his rearview mirror into turn 1. Urexoy's definitely picked up the pace. He's clonking those curbs, though. And you have to be very careful with that around this track, Justin. There's some of those yellow sausage curbs that you can clip. You can run straight over them. And there's other ones, like on the exit of TV3, which we'll see in a matter of moments, that you absolutely cannot clip. They'll throw you off the road. You have to know the limits of the track.
Indeed, and with this racetrack, keep in mind, it's not as easy to get off tracks, but it's also, if you get it off track, you manage to get a lot of them in the same sequence here, to say the very least. So you need to be smart with how you approach this track, especially with all the green turf around this circuit. We're already seeing with that Urexoid just struggling again, closing up the gap, continuing to smash those sausage curbs, which is continuing to bleed him some time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about there. In TV3, it is Spain, so we may have to call them chorizo curbs. You never know. But into La Caixa here, the longer hairpin than we're used to, or the longer hairpin than we used to see in F1, rather. It used to be a tighter corner there. Now we go through the historic layout. Long sweeping corner, then up over turn 12. It's a difficult place to make a move, but we have seen people make moves there before. And then it's a flat out, or almost flat out turn 13. You do need to lift a little bit, and then instead of the chicane, we fly past that, go around the long turns 13 and 14, just like in the historic layout. It's a different layout than we're used to here at Barcelona, but I have to say personally, Justin, it's absolutely an improvement. That chicane is terrible to drive. It never really ends with good racing, and it's just so much more fun to drive around those corners at higher speeds.
And people keep forgetting that's kind of now the new layout. That's the old layout after the insertion of a new layout from years ago for that respective part that's now considered the historic, moving back to the 1995 layout. But in regards to that section, though, it's still a fairly hard send section because there's still a lot of chances to make passes there. There's still a lot of chances for chaos, albeit more sweeping than hard braking zone Punterino type of stuff. But you also, at the same time, still need to make sure you get that flow just right, because if you don't get that flow right, you're going backwards by at least 3/10 in the sector.
And we've seen enough hard braking zone Punterino so far this season. Don't need any more of that. Pit stop cycle's starting to kick off here. A little bit deeper in the field. Waldo Walden, John Jones, Buck Hamilton, Rodrigo Morales. It is starting to kick off. We're into the dying minutes of the race. We're past halfway. You have to imagine that for these leaders, they're going to start thinking about following suit and coming in. Here's Buck Hamilton in that Ferrari off of pit lane. John Jones behind him. In this series, pit stops are not required by the rules. They're required by the laws of physics. You cannot take a full fuel tank to the end of this race. You can take the tires to the end of the race, so we won't see tire changes, but it's going to be all about who can get the shortest pit stop, who's been able to save the most fuel in the initial stage of the race. And does Jared Keane bring it in this time? Yes, he does. He got into the wall in qualifying on pit entry. It's a little bit cleaner this time.
Yeah, a few drivers I noticed checking in before tonight's actually talked about what a great pit entry. Well, that's actually a great pit entry, what we just seen. What you're talking about in terms of if you hit the wall is the very opposite of top tier. It's bottom shelf type of pit entry that loses you a race.
It's F tier.
Is there anything lower than an F grade?
I mean, it is possible. You can get a Z tier maybe, but then we're starting to get into like the depths of Hades here.
And incomplete?
It may just be complete. Everybody's in though. Aero Urexoy 11.4 seconds. Matt Arnold 11.7. These are all some pretty normal pit stop times. Jared Keane only 11 seconds in the box though. So remember that number once Ray Dominguez comes down. He's been known to have some very short pit stops this season. if he can beat Jared Keane by about a second in the pits here, he might be able to jump him on track. It is possible if he can have a great in-lap here.
Yeah, I'm keeping a tracking with Benetti for reference on if it's a good lap because they've been solidly even on the pace. And so far, Dominguez about dead even. It's been an okay in-lap. But in terms of that fuel differential, I think that's partly down with how the BMW is going to be running here with the difference compared to the Porsches. That might be your big play difference because not every car has the same fuel tank type.
Not every driver is the same on the throttle pedal. It is entirely possible that we could see Ray Dominguez with a shorter stop, maybe even a sub 10-second stop here. Let's see if he decides to come in this time, if he can extend this one more lap around. Into the pit entry he comes. Can't go one more lap. Gets it slowed down. And now it's a race against the clock on pit entry here. As fast as you can be until that yellow cone comes. And we'll see how much has Ray Dominguez been able to gain here on that in-lap, on pit lane here. He's going to find his spot, his stall very, very late because he started on pole. He gets to be all the way at the end of pit lane. And now he brings it to a stop hard on the brakes. So we wait for that fuel number, Justin.
Gonna have to be quick right now, already up to 4 or 5 seconds. It's gonna be very tight. Everyone else able to stretch it forward about 10 seconds. Is that gonna be enough? It's gonna be a drag race.
It was a good stop for Ray Dominguez. Not good enough, though. Jared Keane's going to blow by him on the front stretch, but that gap has come down a little bit. When Jared Keane came in, it was about 2 seconds. It's now only 1 second back to Ray Dominguez, but Dominguez is getting things up to speed into turn 1, and now he starts to lose the time. 1.3, 1.6 seconds for Dominguez. Either way, he has lost that track position, and even more critically, Aero Urexo has lost track position to Ray Dominguez. He's lost about 8/10 over that pit cycle.
Honestly, though, look at the interval difference. That's a difference of at least 8, 9 tenths that he picked up in that pit cycle at least. So there's at least the positive. Going to be potentially a little bit lighter for these final 10 minutes. Is that going to make up enough difference to avoid getting, well, passed by a bunch of Porsches?
It's been a difficult race to pass, but you just saw at the end of that straight there, Matt Arnold gets by Andre Bonatti into turn 4. Great move by him. Going to be difficult to get on the podium here. He's got about 4 seconds up the road, but Matt Arnold has proven to be very, very strong on these Grade 1 tracks. Dominated at Aragon earlier this season. 4th place right now. If he comes back in another season, I think he's probably going to be a consideree for the championship next season. I think also we've had a little bit of trouble with Dale Peterson and Ryan Chandler. We'll take a look at that when we can. But it's been clean up front, and it's a good move for Arnold. We'll see what happened to Peterson when we can, though. I think there may have been a little bit of a car argument there. That's a car argument.
A few different drivers noticed Jason Finch, too, and this is what I was noticing and why Blinky Blinky is not so grady on your timing pile-on, a 5-car pile-up.
Oh, dear, and our favorite Ford, Eric Kulaga, involved in that as well. It all started with a little bit of contact up ahead of Dale Peterson, and he didn't really have anywhere to go with the centrifugal force around that corner. Nowhere he could go. He was on the racing line. He was going as fast as he could to get out of the way, and it just wasn't fast enough. So bad luck for old Dale Peterson. Here's what happened. There was a dive to the inside from the orange Porsche, and then Jeff Carollo gets turned. Nowhere Peterson could go, nowhere Kulaga could go, and nowhere Reagan Chandler could go.
At the very least, that very colorful BMW believe that was avoided some of the contact. So that's at least the one bright side you can make out of that. But still, that was a lose-lose situation. Now it's time for some drivers to pass by the others in that incident. Buck Hamilton passing by the wounded car.
The old Intimidator, the Buck Timidator, getting that move in turn 1. Forced Carollo to brake later, braked a little bit too late, and Buck Hamilton in that Ferrari says, "Thank you very much, I will take that P16. Right behind his teammate Waldo Walden, by the way. And I have to give Waldo some great credit here. Barcelona, a very technical track, a very difficult track. And Waldo has done a fantastic job this week, staying out of trouble. He's had the best speed I think we've seen out of him all season. A top 15 result would be fantastic for Waldo Walden in the final couple races of the season.
Trump Ankari also just in front. Also someone known more so as an oval specialist in his career as well on the iRacing service. Some solid runs just up the road. Might be just out of the reach for Hamilton to be able to reach. Also amongst those who have noticed doing really well, Greg Doucette. Amongst those who have seen some consistency over the years, top 10 currently in that 77. Amongst that Porsche wave.
Yeah, Doucette really needed a better day today here in 8th. Only 5 points off the championship leader, Aero Urexoy, for the moment, but that isn't necessarily because of the speed. Urexoy has absolutely been the faster of the two over the course of the season. We know all too well, Justin, we've mentioned it already, might as well rub salt in the wound. It's been the penalty points that has been the befalling of Urexoy.
Yeah.
Lost 20 points at Spa for that lap 1 incident, lost even more at last race, but John Jones gets by Jeff Carollo, and there was almost a little bit of contact there, and I think Jeff Carollo is going to have to serve a drive-through here.
It looks like he was on the way to serve it, Joey. I'm not sure why there was the contact there or why he was on the outside before the pit entry. At the very least, definitely will have to serve it. By the way, I'm so used to Greg Doucette being in the plaid pattern Porsche that I'm surprised he's in BMW right now.
It is very shocking. I mean, he's in the Dazzle camo, so it's hard to see. Like, I don't know if that's a BMW or if that's a Navy ship. It's difficult to tell. It blurs my vision.
Regardless, though, Walden amongst those Ferraris, again, one of those speaks into the preference of run what you're comfortable with. And the Ferrari's very good on the straightaways. It's not as great at the corners, but it still can get you up to the field if you find the right rhythm in it. And Walden, guess what? He's found the right rhythm in it.
He has, and I love that he still runs the Where's Waldo decals. That's been kind of a regular on his NASCAR Cup Series vehicles. That's the normal series he runs here in the PRL. But over the past couple seasons, he said, you know what? I want to get my road skills up. I want to do some road racing and have some fun. And he's brought himself into this GT3 Fix Series and is getting better and better. This is going to be a great result for Waldo. And where's Waldo? His best result ever. That's the answer to that question.
He's right there.
He is. I can see
He's
him.
right on your screen.
This is the easiest game of all time.
Thanks for playing. Next time, we'll try it in the middle of a forest.
Oh, I mean, in the middle of Talladega, that would be the most difficult one. But that is where Waldo Walden got his first win in the PRL last season. He finally got that win on the board at Talladega, and it's entirely possible he could do it again. Daytona coming up for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, I believe, is the championship finale. So you never know what could happen in Waldo Walden land. 5 minutes to go, though, Justin. This race has absolutely flown by. And for Jared Keene, it's probably as slow as it's ever been, because he is feeling the ultimate pressure in the lead of a race, in the lead of potentially his first race win. He's just got to survive for 5 more minutes, and he's got the race won. But when you are on the verge of getting that first race win, the nerves start to set in. You start to maybe obsessively look at that gap. Is it coming down? Is it going up? He's just got to survive for about 3 more laps once we get to the line, and he's got this win, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah, I think right now he's got it because, again, the Porsche's got the better cornering speed compared to the BMW right now. Keene just continuing to grow that advantage in these tighter braking sectors. Dominguez has that small straightaway advantage with a lighter pace, but that's not going to win you the race unless you close up significantly. Unless he finds a way to close up about half a second the next lap here, Keene's in a comfortable spot as long as he doesn't make any trouble.
As they say in Spain, 3 laps to go for Jared Keene. He is in comfortable city right now, and for SRT Esport, this is going to be a great result for them. They've had a lot of speed this season. Keene has been very fast. He's had a pole, and Christopher Rines as well. We saw him get into trouble tonight, but he's had some great speed so far this season. And if Jared Keene can get this win, it'll be great for him. It'll be great for that team. Not close enough to fight for the team's championship. I think that's basically locked up with Vulture Motorsports. But again, coming into next season, it's closer than you think. SRT Esport could be the guys to beat if they want to win the team's championship.
They've been coming that type of way in the F3 series as well this year, especially at the major shift after a lot of the control in the previous years. So they've been trying to take over that PRL road course team crown, essentially, from what we can tell. And honestly, they've got the depth driver-wise to do it. And consistency like this tonight from Keene shows they have the driver pool ready to go.
So far this season, it has been all first-time winners, if I'm not mistaken. Ray Dominguez has won his first races. Aero Urexo has won his first races. Matt Arnold won his first race ever in the PRL. And Jared Keene could join that fray as well. I think there may have been one other winner this season that I'm forgetting. I probably shouldn't forget that because I've been here all season long. That would be embarrassing. But either way, it would be a very, very stacked field of drivers who've gotten their win this season. If Jared Keene can join them, he's going to cross the line here. 2 laps to go, and that gap is only extending.
corner speed now the major difference again. This is right about where Keen grew that gap last time, remember, after saving a bit behind Dominguez. At this point, don't go off the track. Don't risk major differences in speed. Just maintain, because that's the path. If you go off track and get a bunch of incident points all of a sudden, that's on you.
And by the way, John Jones, that was the other driver I forgot. He won the opening race at Watkins Glen. And that's a full set of drivers who have never won a race. Matt Dinsmore goes around right as we put the camera on him. That's not the commentator's curse. That's the producer's curse right there. Matt Dinsmore gets Hugo'd, but he doesn't lose anything. Goes from 21st to 21st. He was in a lucky little bubble there. And the race that's already gone pretty bad, getting taken out by Christopher Rines. Luckily, doesn't get much worse.
Well, if I remember right, that's Throttle Thursday is the group, right?
Correct.
It's Tuesday.
Ah, well, I think we figured it out. They need to change their name.
It's called Have 5 Different Team Names.
Oh.
Ready on hand.
Expand the team. You never know. I mean, I'd be here for Throttle Wednesday. We might have to change the name. It might have to be like Waddle Wednesday or something. But we'll workshop that. Workshop Wednesday.
It's still Tuesday.
Yeah, but if they're over 5 days, we can change it up. We'll see what happens. But Jared Keen, he doesn't need to change anything up here. Out of the final corner, he is going to take the white flag, and it is one more circuit around Barcelona, Catalunya. Only a couple more miles to go, just under 3 miles, and Jared Keen is a first-time winner. He's got to keep it on the track for 13 more corners, though.
Again, that consistency right there. No major slide-ups, made it easy on the pass. It's taken a little bit the first corners too tight. But outside of that, no major mistakes for Keen entering this final lap around.
Out of turn 3, very comfortable. Has lost a little bit of time to Ray Dominguez, but not anything insurmountable. We do have to remember, by the way, Jared Keen didn't start on pole at VIR. He actually started 5th, but he did definitely play a role early on in the race, and may have caused a little bit of trouble. Has definitely had the speed this season, though, to contend for wins. Coming down the hill into TV3 here. Keeping it on the road, keeping it on the black stuff, throwing it up, maybe touching the curb a little bit, but he hits it correctly. Only extends the gap up to Ray Dominguez, then up over turn 9 for the final time. Has to make sure not to throw it off the road. He's done very well. If Jared Keen's feeling any pressure right now, Justin, he is not showing it.
He has had some slow ups, though. That gap's going down a bit this lap. No major mistakes. He should still have this.
Just a few more corners to go, and he's got his first win. Unlike his initials, we are not JK. We are legitimately seeing Jared Keen have his best race in the PRL so far. Through Europe car for the final time. Flat out through there. And through turn 14, Jared Keen comes onto the front stretch. And the number 222 is number 1 for the first time in the GT3 Fix Series. Jared Keen gets his first win ahead of Ray Dominguez and puts himself in the history books with that first win. He's not going to be a championship contender yet, but he might be next season with this confidence.
Impressive run once again. You have to give credit for some of the others. This Ford, I'm surprised, still making the finish. They were in the middle of that chaos, keep in mind, with that 5-car incident. A little bit wounded, but Eric Kalanka still in 12th.
This is why we love the Ford. Eric Kulaga always brings it to the finish no matter where he starts, and somehow he always ends up with a great result. It looks like he has a smirk on the face of that Ford. He brings it home in the top dozen. Karanjas P13, and take a bow, Waldo Walden. Best result as far as I know in the PRL GT3 Fix Series in P15. Great run for that Ferrari, and Waldo's going to be proud tonight.
Yeah, what can you say when it comes to this racetrack? It's indeed tricky, and in particular this car really showcased the trickiness of today with some of the rough moments.
Jeff Carollo survives to the end. There's something to be said about actually finishing this race, so even if you are P23, even if you have had some bad luck, finishing the race is going to be a solid thing. Ryan Chandler is going to be the last driver to do that. We do have to remember, Justin, there's a new thing at the end of the PRL season this season, the All-Star Invitational. Every driver who wins a race this season gets invited to that, and Jared Keane has been looking for an invite to that all season, and he will be showing up to that with his first win in the PRL. Ryan Chandler, last driver to cross the line, and Jared Keane, the first driver to cross the line. Ray Dominguez, still going to be happy with a second place, though. It's been one of his best races, even if it didn't end up in victory lane. Errol Urexoy comes home in third. It'll be a good day for the championship for him. He beat Greg Doucette by quite a bit. Matt Arnold was catching Urexoy at the end, though. Only 1.5 seconds separated him from the podium. Andre Bonatti, a solid top 5, and Peter Mahler, haven't mentioned him once so far tonight, but started 6th, finished 6th. Great night for the New Englander. Joachim Backer, P7, Greg Doucette, P8, and then Veloz and Martinez, a pair of Ferraris, down to the end of the top 10. Reagan Chandler came home in P11 ahead of the Ford Eric Kulaga. Nicholas Karangis went from a spin to 13th, right ahead of Princess Daisy himself, Brett Punkari. Waldo Walden, best result in his PRL GT3 career, ahead of Buck Hamilton and John Jones. Michael Kulaga, Dale Peterson, and Rodrigo Morales round out the end of the top 20. And the last couple drivers on the lead lap, Matt Dinsmore had some bad luck, got clipped by Christopher Rines, then Morse, Carollo, and Chandler down to the end of the lead lap. Jason Finch may have a penalty coming his way in the unlucky 13, and then we start getting into the used car lot of cars with heavy damage. Fowler, Vanko, Hilton, Saad, Andrew Vanaro, and a few others down to the end of the field. Christopher Rines and poor old Chet Miller, I don't even believe, got past lap 1. But that is a 32-car field with no Sean Mulholland, and none of them were faster than our race winner, Jared Keane. For the first time speaking to Jared as a race winner, and you were absolutely the fastest driver in the race so far tonight, Jared. Passing on Urexoy, past Dominguez for the lead. How did you end up in third if you were this quick in qualifying?
Well, I think I left maybe a couple of tenths out there in quali, but it's all right. If I'm up there near Errol and Ray, that's saying plenty.
Indeed, and first race win in the PRL. We've already got to start thinking about next season, though. With only 2 rounds to go, maybe a little bit too late to put on a championship challenge this season, but are you already thinking about next season in this series and maybe fighting for the championship now that you have this confidence?
You know, it does feel like an opportunity slipped a bit. A couple of really dumb errors early in the season cost me 5-6 positions and a few races. Fiji's the first one that comes to mind. So yes, it feels like it's a bridge too far this season. I've got a really strong team for next season with Chris and a new driver we're bringing into the PRL for next season, Ryan. So yeah, we're going to certainly hope to make a run at the team championship. That's first and foremost, and then whatever happens individually. These guys are just so fast. Errol is just a monster, and Ray, I don't know, man. With some bad luck for both of those guys, they could have ran away with this thing.
Well, no bad luck for you tonight. Jared Keane, congrats on your first win, and we'll see you in Le Mans next week.
Thanks, guys.
Jared Keane, a very, very happy driver coming off of tonight. We're going to talk to another driver who will probably be somewhat happy as well. Ray Dominguez comes home in second, and he gets to talk to Mr. Justin Prince.
Well, Ray, you are the highest running non-Porsche in the field. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel actually great, to know that I'm making the difference.
I'm sorry, are you actually in a BMW right now? Am I seeing that green screen correctly?
Yes, indeed, you are correct.
Okay, so while you were thinking in a real BMW, with your virtual BMW, talk us through the strategy, trying to use the overcut to try and see if you can close that gap to the Porsche.
Oh, strategy, had to make it last minute between qualifying and the race, and I forgot to write everything down, and then I forgot in the middle of the race. Yeah, I loaded too much fuel and ended up second and a half, behind or where I should have come out.
Wait, you forgot your strategy?
Kind of. Not the fuel saving, but how much I needed. I wrote it down on a spreadsheet, but I didn't have it available during the race, so it had to trust Race Lab, and it actually gave me the wrong strategy.
Well, on the bright side, 2 more races to go. Your final thoughts for the closing stages.
Well, final thoughts. For this race, I came in prepared. My goal was to be in front of Errol and the guys in front of me in the championship. And make the fastest lap and pole position just to make sure I have the most points over them, just to have a chance to, shoot for that first place in the championship. Is all I'm thinking about right now.
Well, Ray, congrats on the podium. Congratulations, your racing mate.
Yes, I am.
That's Ray Dominguez missing the pun. Don't you hate when you forget your strategy and forget to write it on your paper?
Justin, I would be lying if I said that hasn't happened to me. Sometimes you just gotta fly by the seat of your pants. But we got one more driver to talk to, and it is Mr. Championship leader himself, Errol Urexoy, coming home in third here, but this has been kind of the tale of your season, Errol. Even when the bad races come along, it's still good for the championship for you, and you're coming away with a bigger championship lead tonight than when you started.
Yeah, I needed this one too. I needed to keep it on the podium at least. It was a real struggle there towards the end. The tires just went away. I think I ended with like 30% on the front. So at the end, it was a real struggle. But congrats to Jared. That's his first win, I think. He did a heck of a drive.
It was his first win indeed. But how do you approach the last two races of the season now? Because you've got the championship pretty well under control. You know, you're faster than some of the guys you're fighting with in the championship, and some of the faster guys at some places aren't in the championship fight. How do you balance all that with two more races to go?
Yeah, right now it's keeping the guys that are right behind me in the championship behind me. Ray, I think Ray is going to be pretty formidable at Le Mans in that Beamer, so that's going to be a challenge. So I'm working on some strategy for that to try to keep up with the Beamer down the straights. And Phillip Island feels really good with the Porsche, so I'm feeling really good about the season closer. So if I could just keep this performance up and keep it on the podium, I think I'll be in good shape.
Well, Errol, congrats on yet another podium. I've lost count how many you've had this season. It's been a lot, and we'll see if we can get one more at Le Mans next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Errol Urexoy coming home P3, Justin. And just in time, actually. We're about to move into GT3 sprint racing. You are exactly correct. It was not just one race tonight. GT3 fixed is over. GT3 sprint is in. We open the setups. We extend the race by 5 more minutes. And we up the strength of field quite a bit. Not an insult, just the reality. Some of the fastest drivers in PRL GT3 history make their way to Barcelona, Catalunya. When we look at the schedule, Justin, it's exactly the same, so we don't have to. Nothing looks exactly the same in the championship, though. It has been ridiculously close all season long. The lead's been switching back and forth, and there are 2 singular points. Singular would mean 1. There's 2 points separating Vincent Trepanier and Karl Modhoff, the 2 titans of GT3 racing in the PRL. It is so phenomenal to see them both fighting for a championship for the first time. Boris Ovando won last week, by the way, Justin. He might put himself in championship contention as well.
I was about to mention there was one major change coming into tonight. Trepanier was awarded a 10-point penalty, so that's not 308, it's now 298 for him. So there's a little wrench into the championship fight. Modhoff, mind you, is also struggling at the track because he crashed already in qualifying in the midst of the sprint side, so it's been busy.
We did think that was coming, Justin, but I checked the championship points before the race started. So that was a very, very late ruling. That just came in within the past couple of seconds. That was for contact made with Jeremy Gonsalves and the S's at Road Atlanta last week. So suddenly, the championship standings changed just a little bit in the last couple of seconds. The team's championship standings haven't changed, though, even with that penalty for Vincent Trepanier. Advanced Motorsports still have a dominant lead in the championship, 100 points over Precision Racing Esports Purple. It's interesting how that works, Justin, because they haven't spread themselves wide, Advanced Motorsports. They only have 2 drivers in Vincent Trepanier and Simon Thiriot. But even with just those 2 drivers, they have been picking up the points, and they have been dominant.
Again, though, it's not a surprise per se to see Advanced Motorsports doing well, because on other platforms, they have teams up to 5-6 drivers that essentially dominate the Canadian championship circuits. So when you have a team like that work together, usually means good things. And some of those drivers were with Unit, which we see in some championships as well. So they have a strong talent pool that's come in through PRL's ranks in the past couple years alone.
And we have to remember Guy Levesque, very, very dominant in his championship year in the PRL, used that to sort of springboard himself into the pro levels of iRacing competition. Andrew Caron as well, and a few others have jumped from PRL and league competition to that highest level of iRacing competition. Beckham Jasir or Karl Modoff, they might be some of those drivers who can do that as well. So we've got 7 minutes left in qualifying. It's close up at the top. Vincent Trepanier, 21 thousandths of a second off our pole sitter Dominic Olivier. Karl Modoff's trying to join him up front, but he's got 3 tenths to make up.
Yeah, and that's coming back from the spin that started off as qualifying. Was actually watching in the session as the fixed race was going on. On his second total lap of the race, bended off one of the corners. So Modoff already in the midst of trying to recover from a couple spins earlier in the session. Now it's the matter, can he do it to get up to Dominic Olivier, who has a bit more clean time per se, compared to what 948 has done so far. Olivier, mind you, is already point off.
And Dominic Olivier is very, very lucky. The electricity actually went out on his block just a couple of minutes ago. It came back just in time for the race, though, so he does get to race tonight. But a few others are out. Gary Brown has another commitment. Ted Lowendick is stuck at work, so we won't get to talk to him during the race. But other than that, we do have a very, very full field. 31 cars to have a qualifying lap time. It's going to be about 37 cars in total. Karl Modoff, though, currently 5th of them and currently the championship leader. 10 points more of a championship leader as of a couple seconds ago, as Justin mentioned. Out of the final couple of corners, is this going to be a good enough lap time to find some of those 3 tenths up to the lead? Through the final corner, just a little bit wide, then full on the gas down the front stretch. Karl Modoff crosses the line, improves, but not enough for the pole.
So still good starting position. And keep in mind, we mentioned Olivier top of the board. Funnily enough, Joey, while we were doing the fixed race, he did report power outages on his block. He had no power 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So he's lucky to be at the top of the board right now, let alone racing, as we take a look at Genest.
I wonder if he found a generator or something. Maybe he had to go over to Arnaud's house and find a generator.
Boo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've never had fun with Arnaud's name, or I've never had fun with his last name. We always have so much fun with Arnaud. We never have enough fun with Genet. This opens a whole world of possibilities.
They're also about 10 hours apart by drive, actually 20. I think Canada, I think it's Quebec to Florida. That's a big distance.
Gonna be doing some light speed travel there. Arnaud Genet out of the final corner. Does he have some light speed in this Unit Sim Sport Porsche? Across the line, can he hop down into the 139s? He can't. Picks up a 10th though, and that's gonna put him in the top 10.
Still a solid run so far. Punch was also amongst those just outside the top 10 who had some spins earlier. You could already see drivers just making sure they reset, get some fresh rubber, get back on the racetrack. This car, though, has been really solid. You see here, the 26. This is Fernando Jaquiz, was inside the top 5 for much of the practice session till the final couple minutes. Within 2 tenths the top time in practice led by Modoff. So the 26 seems to be in a solid tempo right now in the midst of this qualifier already. Still with the top 10 early going.
And here comes Fernando Jaquez to the line. No improvement, about 4 tenths down, but this has been very, very solid stuff so far in the session for Fernando. He's going to park it, bring it down pit lane again, and go out for one more run, I think. But it's great to see that Seabao Racing team, CRT, with some speed this week. They've been kind of off this season after fighting for the championship last season with Juan Malagan and Francis Castillo-Romero and a few others. Haven't quite had that same speed so far. It's good to see it back in the top 10.
Yeah, Gonzalez, we always expect to be up towards the front. It's, again, weird to see him not in his normal manufacture. But, again, we talked about it a lot during the fixed race. If you're not in a Porsche, you're not in the top 20. I'm serious. There's only one Lamborghini in the entire top 20, and it's Sean Dickinson.
That's been the tale of manufacturers we followed this season. There's kind of a GT 3.5, so to speak, between Dickinson and the Lamborghini, Ted Lowendick and Nick McLaughlin in the Ferrari, Terrafino in the BMW, even Ethan Bass in the Ford at times. It's sort of been a race to see who's the fastest non-Porsche in a field full of Porsches. Jeremy Gonsalves, though, has had speed this season as well, as everybody in this Precision Racing Esports squad always does. Had some bad luck last week, though. He was the non-beneficiary of that Vincent Trepanier incident that got Vincent those 10-point penalties. He got taken out. But out of the final corner, can he join Vincent or maybe dump him off that front row? Gets very wide out of the final corner. I don't know if that's an off track, and he's not going to improve either way.
Doesn't even put a time up on the board, and off track indeed confirmed. One of the highest in terms of incident points in the qualifying. Diego Morales, who actually just crashed, leading that way for reference. But just a couple minutes to be able to do anything at this point. Cementerio de Monstos, I would expect to be a little bit higher up here with the Advanced Motorsports side. With that speed we talked about already, can they pick up more tempo? They need 6/10 to get up to the pole, at least a 10th to get in the top 10.
Simon Terrio, he's been on the podium this season. He's had some fantastic speed in qualifying, trying to find some extra speed to match that. He's not going to find it on that lap. He's going to get one more time around, though, if he wants to join his teammate Vincent Trepanier up in the top 5, in the top 3, maybe even on the front row. It's been a great season so far for Terrio. Hasn't quite had the measure of his teammate, but this is his first season in the GT3 level in the PRL. It's a season of learning, I think, this season, and it'll only get better next season.
And as Monstos drivers, keep in mind, coming over from their platforms, that's done very well in those respective platforms. So expecting some big things again when it comes to anyone that's through this camp because of how in-depth the team is, especially as well, keep in mind with how much... Keep in mind, they also build a lot of sim rigs across Canada and build their own setups for our people and clients.
5% discount code, Precision5. You too can be one of those people who gets that discount from Advanced Sim Racing. They do some very good stuff for both you and for the PRL. Gonsalves crosses the line. This lap is going to count, I believe, and he does find one singular 10th. Not good enough, though. Still going to stay P4.
At this point, I think he's happy about that spot if he's already pulling off here. But a few others still have that good chance. I'm really curious on some of those in the line. But again, track like this, normally clean air the advantage. Quiz currently with the bit of that cleaner advantage, just out of the range of Ovando's draft.
Here we come out of the final corner. Fernando Jaquez becoming a PRL veteran now. He's been with us for a couple seasons in GT4 and GT3. He's a familiar name. Not going to find any speed, though. Boris Ovando finds a ton of speed, though, right ahead of him from 15th to 3rd in the dying seconds. Big lap there for the defending race winner up into 3rd. Now Karl Modov finds himself on the outside of the front row. Almost throws it off the road into TV3. He's got to push here to get back on the inside of row number 2.
And needs a couple 100s here, and that's if he elects to keep this run going. Currently one of the few that can still keep up the qualifying run. Modov, for reference right now, looking fairly solid. Just needs to, again, find that extra little bit. That's not going to be so easy for this last lap, although this is a push lap.
He's pushing very hard out of the final 2 corners, throws it in. You can cut a lot of that corner, can't cut too much of it. Then moves just over to the right to not clunk that sausage curb. Then out of the final corner. Don't take out that DRS sign. Flat out onto the front stretch, crosses the line. Finds 10,000ths of a second, but that's not going to be enough to advance him anywhere forward. Karl Modov going to be coming off P4 once we go green here. And that's basically everybody with a chance. There's a few more drivers on laps here. Fernando Jaquez is going to get one more shot, but Dominic Olivier up at the top of the table. Another pole for him in a race he wasn't even supposed to be in. His power was out.
And Quez not able to get past the 140 so far in this qualifying session. Might be in a great position to do so. I'm curious as well. Gonzalo Cortez is trying to hook up to his draft to try and move up from 14th here too. Ooh. Well, there goes the draft. And there's no improvement.
No improvement for Jaquez, no improvement for Cortez, and that is going to be all they wrote for qualifying here in the GT3 Sprint Series. It shouldn't be a surprise to say Dominic Olivier is on pole, but this season he has not been the dominant driver in qualifying. He's had one pole this season. He actually started on the pole at Fuji and ended up winning that race, if my memory serves me correctly, ahead of Vincent Trepanier, and he's going to see if at a different Grade 1 track, he can do exactly the same thing this week. There's 40 minutes on the clock, and Dominic Olivier will lead them all to green in his Porsche. It'll be Vincent Trepanier to his outside when we get the chance to see him, and Boris Ovando, last week's winner, will be starting from 3rd after a great final lap in qualifying. Karl Modov, the winningest driver in PRL GT3 history, starts at his outside. Then it's Gonsalves and Jasir on row number 3. Gotta go quick here as they're already gridded Bartley, Crisp, Jaquez, and Santos down to the end of the top 10. And Arnaud Genet and Ryan Puctel not actually teammates anymore after the breakup of SimCity Racing 2. Then unlucky 13th in qualifying went to Michael Diaz, a little bit lower than some of his teammates down in unlucky 13th. He starts alongside Gonzalo Cortez in that Logitech Porsche. Alessandro Torquio, the Mexican Superbike champ, starts alongside a driver who won his first race in the PRL last season, Simon Tirio. Diego Morales and Miguel Fonseca make up row number 2, or row number 9 rather. They wish it was row number 2. Sean Dickinson and Kwok Nin, row number 10. Then Juan Malagan and Kevin Simpson, Porsche versus Lamborghini. Spears and Terrafino, Porsche versus BMW. New livery on Terrafino's car, by the way. Marc-Andre Desjardins for Unit Sim Sports starts alongside Justin Delano. Then it's David Mendonça and Philippe Magnan on row 14. Ethan Bass repping the Ford P29 alongside Noah Anderson. And then 31st place in qualifying went to Ryan O'Connor alongside the other Ford of Jay Steffi. Faraz Nasser starts alongside Jason Allen. Gary Brown, I don't believe he's actually in the field tonight after a last-minute commitment. And 15-minute race spot commentator Nick McLaughlin, no lap in qualifying for him. I do believe he will be able to start the race. Then we have to go to P37, Corey Hocken. Don't know if he's going to start the race either. No qualifying lap for him. But either way, 30-plus cars at Barcelona, Justin. It was crazy enough in the last race with the first-time winner. It's only going to be more of the same here for 5 minutes longer.
Strategy going to be very critical. If you're not in a Porsche, it's not going to be easy. And once again, do not send it hard into the opening laps of this race. Turn 1 and 2, if you send it too deep, you're taking others with you and you're going to not have so many friends. Repsol, same case for turn 10, even with the historic layout. Who's going to be able to come on top? It's going to be a major question. And especially with some of these drivers doing so well here in the past, I'm very curious on Ovando already up inside that row 2. See if he has the speed. I think he's got a good shot.
Every single driver in the top 5 has won a race so far in GT3 Sprint this season. Which one of them is it going to be in 40 minutes time? For the second time tonight, it's a duo of Barcelona races, and we're racing once more in Catalonia. It's a great start from Dominic Olivier, and it's an argument between Modov and Trepanier down the front straight as Olivier streaks away. They're almost going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Beckham Jasir trying to decide where to go. Boris Ovando trying to decide where to go. They're side by side for second. Modov around the outside of Trepanier, becomes the inside to turn 2, and they're spinning in the back. Ethan Bass in trouble early.
There goes that Ford. There goes a lot of the others just like that. And what did I say? Don't send it hard into turn 1 or else you'd be in trouble. But already Ovando amongst those being taken advantage of because they didn't get the good launch. Jasir now with the chance to squeeze because he's keeping it alongside. Morales, you can say the same thing against Bartley.
Whoa, I think Nathan Bartley may have gotten to the back of Santos right as we looked away there. There was very close quarters, and they're still arguing. Simon Tirio, the We Race Esports driver of Rodrigo Morales, trying to peek to his inside into TV3. That's not going to work. Fernando Jaquez on the outside, or Juan Malagan, rather, trying to recover. Get back in line, but there's huge trouble. Santos, the CRT car of Malagan. Nathan Bartley is spun around. Miguel Fonseca's involved. It's a pileup. It is a Spanish car park here. Arnaud Genet, Desjardins. There's bumpers everywhere.
I'm not sure what Desjardins was doing because Bartley was parked in the middle of the racetrack for a good 5 seconds and just cleaned him out. My goodness, absolute pileup. There's Bartley in the middle of the racetrack. Everything looks fine. Then the bumper comes off. That's the worst time for a bumper to come off ever.
It is a very bad time. Just understeers into him. It's like a paella out here. There's so many bits and pieces. Let's see what happened first and foremost between Bartley and Santos here. Coming down into turn 5, that's where it starts. A little bit of contact between the two of them. It was an accident from Bartley, but was there a little bit of retribution here coming into turn 3 from Emmanuel Santos in that yellow car on Nathan Bartley? He was to the inside. I don't think he was trying to hit him, but I think that may be an investigation from the stewards.
Yeah, but keep watching here. Everyone avoids. No. The second and last car in the line can avoid.
The old, as they say in Spain, el breaks de arca. Bad luck there for Bartley and Desjardins. But we have to look back up front because it's not been too crazy up front. It's been crazy in the back. It's been calm up front. Olivier hangs out in a 1-second lead over Vincent Trepanier. And now it becomes a fight for second, basically, if they can't bring that down. Modov up 1 spot from his qualifying spot. Jasir up 1 spot from his qualifying spot. Other than that, no changes in the top 5.
We have lost a quarter of the field just like that. That's how quickly things have changed here. But again, if you're up at the front, you get to avoid the chaos. If you're in the back, congratulations. I hope you wrapped your car in bubble wrap.
I wish I could do that. If that was an option, I'd be first on the list. I need that.
I mean, as we take a look at the leaders, I will mention one driver you can argue with that. Nick McLaughlin, remember, started just about dead last in the field. After being third to last in practice, he's up to 17. Jason Allen's up to 18 from all that chaos in 2 laps.
That is not bad whatsoever. And for Nick McLaughlin, a driver who tends to be involved in the trouble, unfortunately, tends to get collected in incidents not of his own doing, that's some great luck for him. And you know what changed his luck, Justin? It was coming into the race spot booth for 17 minutes. That's what changed his luck. You know what? We might as well talk to him for about 30 seconds. We got a calm period. Nick McLaughlin, you survived lap 1. You've made up 17 spots. I know exactly what did it. It was you coming into the race spot booth.
I think starting from the back of the pack was the right decision. There was a lot of chaos there on lap 1, and I've made up 17 positions.
Is this the first time we've had you in the top 20 in a couple weeks?
Maybe. I think I had a good showing at Road Atlanta, but now I'm double guessing myself.
Well, now you just got to survive 35 more minutes. I think this is the bonus of the race spot. This is the Justin Prince, whatever the opposite of a curse is. This is the Justin Prince blessing for you.
It's the blessing. It's the opposite of the curse. That's absolutely right.
Justin, you got to come back every week now for the sake of Nick.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do half a fix, miss practice, and then...
Whoa, there could be another spot here. Kevin Simpson, a little bit of a bobble, but Nick backs out of it. Come on, Nick. We wanted the excitement into turn 9.
Oh, he bobbled it there. He'll bobble it again. Just hang on a minute.
All right, we'll let Nick McLaughlin get back to his battle with Kevin Simpson. But there's something about Canadians, Justin. You guys have a metaphysical connection. There's some good vibes going.
I don't know what it is about that either, to be honest, but all I'll say is sometimes he's right. Starting in the back helps you be able to avoid everything. As long as you have no one else behind you and you have a chance to check up, then you are in a good spot.
Indeed, Sean Dickinson's fallen out of the top 10. I think he's gotten into a little bit of trouble out of the final corner. Simon Theriault gotten by him into P10, and Dickinson has had a struggle of a season, unfortunately. If you remember back to a couple seasons ago, Justin, Sean Dickinson was a guy who seemingly could pull out impossibly fast pace. I remember a win at Manicourt. I remember a win at Silverstone in this Lamborghini where he gapped the field in ways we've never seen in the PRL GT3 series. 10-second gaps of victory. He had nailed those setups. This season, though, the Porsche has been so strong that even with Sean Dickinson in this Lamborghini, even he can't get this thing faster than the Porsches.
And it's been dealing with a little bit of a crumple back in, I believe, from the early going of this race. But again, that's just kind of how the BOP projections go. Sometimes you pick your favorite car and it turns out to be 1.7 seconds off the race leader, like right now. Other times you pick your favorite car and it ends up being the fastest car in the field. And it can change at the blink of a build. It can change the blink of a second, and that's why some teams get the chance to switch cars with those BOPs like they did earlier this year. Sometimes drivers even take that penalty to be able to change the cars.
Yeah, and we never know what could happen next season, Justin. All sorts of rumors about not only new LMDH cars, but new GT3 cars. We got the new Porsche, the updated Porsche in the last build. You never know what could come in the future. The new Mustang GT3 will be coming to IMSA. I assume that'll be coming to iRacing as well. Lots of opportunities for new cars, and who knows? Maybe it'll be the Mustang Challenge instead of the Porsche Challenge in a couple seasons' time.
Yeah, so far though, Mendonca quietly also doing solidly in a non-Porsche. We've seen how the BMW did in the fixed race. And seen if you get the strategy right, you can do well with the fuel mileage. This is where a lot of the cars similar in pace have gone, including Terrafino in the BMW, Bucknim and Joshua Spears, all in the midst of this fight. Mendonca's in a great spot to make up 3 spots with how they're squabbling up at the heart of this pack.
It's BMW o'clock here, and David Mendonça, one of those drivers who has kind of been on the bad end of the switch to this series, not being pro in AM. He was fighting for podiums in the AM class, fighting for wins at times. Now, with everybody in one class, he's kind of had to up his game a little bit, get a little bit quicker, start fighting forward, and right now he's done exactly that in the top 15, right behind two-time GT3 fixed champion Michael Terrafino. Terrafino in that number 94 BMW just kind of put a clinic on the field in GT3 fixed over the last 2 seasons and was basically forced into this series. They said, you know what, you've been good enough, you've had your championships, now it's time for the bigger challenge, and he is going to be fighting for 12th here. We have to look up to second place as well. Vincent Trepanier and Karl Modoff, they're having a send-off as Modoff sends it into the hairpin. Down the hill, though, he's going to lose a little bit of that gap, but he's hungry for second.
Still no chance to make the move quite yet. Modoff just within that drafting range, but the thing is, if Modoff goes for a send, they lose Olivier. Simple as that in terms of the drafting range. If they don't make the move, though, in terms of Modoff, the best you can do is wait for the pit window, try and go for the overcut, try a different fuel strat, see if you can jump to second, and then fight for the race lead. You have to think big picture in this situation. And right now, the big picture is, if you send it right now, you might not win this race.
Big picture on the left, the small picture on the right. Look in the bottom of your screen. Michael Terrafino and Kwok Nin absolutely going at it. A new livery for Michael Terrafino this week, maybe giving himself a little bit of confidence as he's trying to sweep it around the outside in turn 3. That's always difficult to do, and the big lumbering BMW is not able to make the move stick. He's going to try and stay to the outside. Into turn 4 here. There's a nose to the inside from David Mendonça, and the battle continues.
Just didn't have the grip along the outside there. Mendonça, though, has the chance for the cross-up. Never mind, Jason Allen, your biggest mover, is ready.
Welcome to the party, Jason Allen, the SimCity Racing driver, one of the catalysts of SimCity Racing, one of the founders, racing in the PRL, I believe, for the first time this season, and doing some great things in that SimCity Racing 71. He's got the magenta, he's the Pink Panther right now, and he is moving forward. You're going to have to give me an exact number, Justin. 15th place right now. He started where? The 30s.
He started 34th and is up 19 spots. That is more than half the field just about at this point.
Large, as they say in Spain, garganta. Very big drive for Jason Allen so far, but now he's feeling the pressure. It's not over. Mendonça's behind him, Simpson's behind him, and who else but Nick McLaughlin's in the train as well. This could be a very exciting fight for P15.
Not bad for Allen's third race in the PRL.
It's only his third race?
That is according to Penny Dickinson.
You're right. That's crazy. I could have sworn he's been here for the full season, but you're exactly right, Justin. Looking at the season results, he was here for race 1. He was here for race 3. He was here for race 5. But that Alessandro Torchio off in turn 1, we just saw him on the edge of our screen. He was having a great race in the top 10 as well, but it's all come undone.
That was one of the Ukels machines. Ukels Hollinger Esports. One of the real-world teams with esports presences, and just had a presence with the curbing that spun around.
Yeah, it was already losing it coming into the corner, and then the curb just lifted him off the air, or lifted him into the air. Almost contact between Joshua Spears and Kwok Nin. Kwok flashes the lights. It's full contact GT3 racing in the middle of the field.
I don't blame Kwok Nin for blinking all those lights in the Vaporworks car. That is a very risky send along that grouping, and Spears at this point is holding everybody else back at this point. Oh my goodness, Nick McLaughlin missed the corner.
Oh dear, I see him in the background flailing a little bit. He's going to get back in line in P18. Bad luck there, but look at this train. It's only getting bigger. Kevin Simpson's going to join the fray now. Jason Allen trying to recover later on the brakes than Terrafino, but staying in line. It's his 4th race in the PRL this season. It's been a part-time season for him, and he is in the hunt for his best result of the season. It's his best run so far. It's been like a bizarro world here at Barcelona, Justin. I don't know what it is about this track, but some drivers who have found some pace that they haven't had all season have suddenly found the way around Barcelona.
Well, it is a track that deceptively can actually bring out some of the better drivers, because it is a track with aero factors, as we talk a lot in terms of the open wheel cars, for example. But when it comes to the cars like this, you still have some of that factor, yes, but you also have that chance of a rhythm and a flow, because of how much extensive work is put in by respective car manufacturers and teams here. It just is a good flowy racetrack.
Jason Allen, he's working on his rhythm and flow based on how well he's been driving so far. I think we might have to get Jason Allen into a rap career with this level of rhythm and rhyme. He's been doing a great job. Almost to the back of Michael Terrafino there, because Terrafino has been like a hungry dog in that Team Beef BMW, or that formerly Team Beef BMW, I should say. Back walked in, he's looking to the inside, looking to the outside, can't find a way by him, but he's getting held up either way.
Just has to wait for the right moment right now. Can't just stick it up the inside and try and make it stick. Because here's the thing, this battle pack has gotten so clogged up behind Spears that it's gone all the way back to 19th. Philippe Magnan, who is the tail end of this track pack. 4 seconds worth of cars wanting to make passes here.
I think there may have been contact up in the head of the field between Modov and Trepanier, but Kwok Nin keeping our expectations high here. Here's what happened, Justin. Into Lakaisha, no contact, but holding each other up extensively. A big dive from Modov for track position, but it's lost him even more time to Dominic Olivier.
Yeah, but he's gained a lot of time to Trepanier. The problem is now, that was the give and take difference. Was it going to be worth it in the big picture? Spears now is in, and now this may actually cost Spears time because of how clogged up they were behind him. I think he may need to go long there with how everyone was battling back behind him.
And it's a difficult pit strategy here because track position is so important. If you do come down pit lane early, you put yourself at risk of coming out in traffic and coming out basically in traffic, getting held up while the rest of your compatriots, your competitors are in clean air.
The counterpoint I have, though, in that circumstance for that grouping was Spears was the traffic. Now Spears potentially can lose all those spots with that pace as we all get set up in the midst of the heart of the pack. Modov at this point is taking off and has a chance to get to Olivier on raw pace. Trepanier is really falling back.
It's important for the championship. Remember, Vincent Trepanier got that penalty tonight. That puts him at a loss in the championship. He's at -8 points compared to Karl Modov. Losing one position to him tonight would be 1 extra point. That would be a 9-point championship gap. With only 2 races to go, that is a big gap to make up. So Vincent Trepanier is going to have to try and bring that down. Boris Ovando and Beckham Jasir, the 2 Bs, are going to be going at it down the front straight, though. In the draft is Boris Ovando, peeking out to the inside. Can he beat later on the brakes than Beckham Jasir? Beckham's not even going to fight him too hard, and indeed, Boris Ovando's through.
You can hear some of the clattering of the curbing, though, at this point, and I think Jasir just knows he has Gonzalez right behind. Why fight when you have some of the PRL esports drivers around when you know they're going to be trying to work together to get around you? Just at this point, see if you can figure out a way to be able to be in their pack, get in your strategy, go from there, because you don't have any Air Fiercely Forward cars in your pack right now.
Listening to the Porsche party, they're reverberating off each other. These Porsches sound good enough on their own, but in a pack of 3 riding in line here, it's like a German train resonating through the air. We've also been corrected in the chat, by the way, Justin. Penny Dickinson has told us that Jason Allen finished 4th at Spa back when we were in the booth together, and she is indeed correct. I kind of lost that in the lap 1 chaos. Allen did survive. That did finish P4, so he's got some great results in the books.
Yeah, he does have that speed, but that's what happens when, what was that, half the field crashed at Spa? Or at least half your entries combined as well in both races crashed at Spa, and the latter of which, when it comes to this sprint series, crashed before the hillside, which is hard to do.
I think Nick McLaughlin's crashed as well. Unfortunately, the one-time race spot commentator tonight, it's all come undone to him. He spun, he towed, and Justin, you say he floored it into the pit, so that sounds like he gave up.
Well, I don't know if he gave up or the car decided to go to the barrier. Let's take a look. The Safra got... Nick McLaughlin, do you have a copy?
Hello, how are you?
You became a pool ball.
You know, It's really funny. Joey and I just had this conversation earlier about how I might do that because I hadn't practiced my pit entry. Lo and behold, there you have it. Practice your pit entry, folks.
I think that's what Joey called an F-tier pit entry then.
Oh, no.
F-tier pit entry.
It was an A-tier pass, though, Nick. Just as you join the booth, Jeremy Gonsalves makes the move on Beckham Jasir. Precision Racing Esports, they've got some strong cars here. They've got one in the lead, one in fourth, one in fifth. Let's get your expert opinion while you're in here. Can Olivier win this race? Can PRE take it, or is Modolf going to catch him?
I mean, Olivier definitely has the pace to win this race, but you can never count out Modolf. He is, after all, the winningest GT3 racer we have.
That is correct. More wins than you, unfortunately.
And I believe Trepanier in third has tied me, so there's a lot of expertise up there. It's still anybody's race.
History on the line. Mr. Nick McLaughlin will drag him back to his pit stall. Hopefully he can get back out in the race. We'll see if he can. But Boris Ovando's made the move on Vincent Trepanier, Justin. I think Vincent is not pitting. He has made an error, potentially, and he has lost a ton of time. He's down to P5, 5 seconds off the lead now.
Yeah, that fall off has gotten massive when it comes to that car here. So Trepanier, that long-term pace, running about a second off right now. This is not looking good whatsoever. And now at this point, it's thought process. Modolf at this point is the only driver who said eventually we've got to go. And this is around that big picture discussion we had before. Do you wait behind, save fuel, and then wait for the pit stop sequence? Or do you risk going and losing the draft? Look at an interval. Modolf is only 1.2 seconds back, and he's stabilizing with Olivier, just outside that range. Trepanier, he's absolutely fallen off a cliff, so it looks like some of the judgment coming in for him to say, we gotta go, coming in. This is what you're talking about.
And we saw this live technically, but the reason we didn't notice it is because Trepanier basically threw himself off the screen. He was out of our vision with that little bobble, and then the second he came back into view, he'd lost 2 spots and he lost a couple of seconds. He's now back in the rhythm, but his pain is not over because Beckham Jasir is all over the back of him. The fiercely forward car, that yellow and black Porsche of Beckham Jasir, is looking fiercely forward, and he knows that Trepanier is struggling. He might see one more spot ahead of him.
Trepanier's had experience when it comes to this type of car at some of the best Canadians, one of the best Canadians in the country, remember. Red Bull Ring Challenge, the Red Bull Ring Masters rather comes to mind, for example. But right now, this just does not look like he's comfortable right now with something feels like it's off for him to be dropping off this quickly with this car in the setup. You cannot afford to drop off after 20 minutes. Pit stop window's open, Modolf's in.
Karl Modolf's in, and nobody has been better at saving fuel this season than Karl Modolf. He actually got beaten by Boris Ovando at fuel saving last week, but other than that, Modolf has been risky. It hasn't paid off for him at times, but it has worked for him at many, many occasions, and he is going to be the kicker-offer of the pit cycle. We'll see if he comes out in traffic. I have to imagine he's calculated that he won't, but you never know.
Yes, indeed. And with that signal coming on in 13 seconds is the mark. That's interesting to me because Spears only did about 11 or 12 seconds. Punchtail, who came in 4 laps ago as well, only did 11 or 12 seconds. Was that a little bit extra just to make sure, or was that extra because of getting the insurances at the halfway mark? I'm not sure.
It's a good question, but we'll have to wait for some of these leaders to come in. Has Modolf been expending fuel catching Olivier? That's a reasonable question to ask, I think. Beckham Jasir still faster than Trepanier. Every time through TV3, Trepanier gets a little bit wide there and bobbles over the curb, but Jasir can't make the move. We're seeing the difficulty of passing at Barcelona demonstrated physically on our screens. It's frustrating if you're the likes of Beckham Jasir, and eventually you just have to think, should I just come into the pits right now? Trepanier is holding me up.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at that move, but we've seen the strategy usually is go for the splash and dash usually. Go as far as you can, see if you can play things up with a lighter fuel load. But for Jasir, he also knows if he comes out of the midst of traffic, he loses time. For reference, Modolf is 30 seconds behind the race leader, but is 1 second back of the battle for 13th spot. That's not going to be an easy sequence if you end up going with that strategy to come back through, because you extrapolate that by the couple seconds back where Jasir is, he comes out right where 17th, 18th, and 19th is on the racetrack by estimate.
We have to give the advanced sim racing setup builders some credit here. Vincent Trepanier is insanely fast in a straight line. You saw him flying down the front stretch. He may be struggling in the middle sectors of the lap, in the corners. Jasir might have a little bit more downforce, but with Trepanier being as fast as he is down the front stretch, that's the biggest thing you can do in terms of defense. It's impossible for Beckham Jasir to get a run into the best overtaking opportunity on the track.
Indeed, and keep in mind, the Advanced Motorsports side, keep in mind, is amongst those getting in with some of that real-world prep, but also the virtual side on the coaching front for curiosity's sake. But keep in mind, they also are a group that has drivers in the real world. And that's where that organization with Perry comes in. So it's really, when you think about it too, them branching out those resources from other sims that they already built up as part of that grouping on the sim side to try to expand that front and add more talent on top of them at the toppest level.
Karl Modoff is in trouble in traffic. While these guys fight for third and fourth, Karl Modoff is trying to fight for 14th. He's stuck behind Justin Delano, and that is not going to help him in his fight to chase Dominic Olivier. None of these guys up front are coming into the pits. They might be waiting maybe 6-7 more laps before they decide to come in. Meanwhile, Karl Modoff is stuck in traffic. He did just get by Delano. He got by Kevin Simpson as well, but he had to fight for it.
This is exactly what I was just talking about, and where Jasir, if he ended up coming on in, would be right into the mix of this as well, a couple of packs back. So this is that balancing act once again. Here comes Dickinson in 10 laps for the final stint.
Lamborghini getting some fuel. Nick McLaughlin still in the pits after his early stop. Justin Delano comes down as well. It's starting to get a little bit more busy on pit lane. Torquio's going to join the fray as well, but still none of the leaders have decided to come in. Big bobble out of Beckham Jasir, though, out of turn 4. That's the first mistake we've seen out of him all race. Again, the track temp's not the highest in the world, but the tires still falling off a little bit, and we are seeing some drivers get swiggly and wiggly.
If I'm Jasir, I go in at this point, because the window's open. It's pretty clear it's open. You can make it work if you got it on your spreadsheet. At this mark, he's losing way too much time to keep up with Ovando and Gonçalves. If he thinks he's got a shot at a podium, he needs to come in soon.
See what he does at the end of this lap. Up into the final sector he goes. You can see physically, visibly, the way he closes the gap to Vincent Trepanier. Up over the top of the hill, he's able to carry so much more speed through these high-speed corners. But the second they get to the straights, he loses all of it. We'll see if he even gets to the straight this time before ducking in. Does he listen to Justin Prince? No, he doesn't. He's going around for one more time.
Might be going to the laps to go mark. That's usually the average pit stop delta for the top leaders. And it kind of makes sense in terms of your spreadsheet charts. But it's still going to be a tight window here. Modoff, keep in mind, has not gained or lost time. Interestingly enough, even with the battles. As a matter of fact, he stayed 30.5 seconds back compared to the race leaders. So if anything, he's just status quo. The 948 is. It's down to what these leaders do to where Modoff actually cycles.
Kwok Nin is in. Mendonça is in. It's getting very, very interesting here. We're past halfway, and we are very, very close to those final pit stops. Don't forget that number, 13.1 seconds for Karl Modoff. No matter how fast he is in terms of pace right now, he's setting fastest laps. But if Dominic Olivier can have a shorter stop than him, it could just be race over. It could be Dominic Olivier holding that lead. We'll have to wait and see. Jasir's losing the back of Trepanier. He is struggling as well. Has he been pushing too hard? Has he worn those tires out? Are him and Vincent both going to be falling like a rock and maybe ending up in the footwells of Martin Crisp in a couple laps' time?
Well, Crisp is a little bit quicker, but has been running his own for the entire race. But really, again, I'm just not liking this long run pace of a sec off the tempo. Olivier has kind of emphasized it. Modoff, especially since he set his fastest lap of the race, if not the entire event already. You need to be able to run fast on the old tires by a few tenths to be elite. Gonçalves is now in. Olivier is in. It looks like it's the PRL pit stop time.
Precision Racing Esports organizing with each other than Boris Ovando. Ovando stays out for one more time. He's going to take over the race lead for the moment, but Olivier is in, Gonçalves is in, Genet is in. And where do these guys blend? Dominic Olivier thinking about that 13-second pit stop time of Carl Modoff. 10.2 seconds for Dominic Olivier. 3 seconds faster on pit lane than Carl Modoff. I think he's going to blow by him. He's going to beat him out by a couple of seconds here. Jason Allen's coming by. He's not even going to get by Olivier. It's going to be a 3-second gap for Dom over Carl.
And that's why I was a bit nervous in terms of the pit stop time for Modoff. He put in more fuel, but at the same time, the top-off strat has been the winning strat a lot of the ways this year. And 10 seconds is that strat mostly everyone else is doing now who's made that lap, if not 11 seconds. So Modoff, the main difference now is 100% that pit delta, that 2 seconds of extra fuel.
I think Beckham Jasir heard what I was saying, Justin, about him falling off a little bit because he has picked up the pace again. He's all the way to the back of Trepanier again. And I do wonder if both of these guys decide to come in this time around, which one of them will come out on top. We know Boris Ovondo's been incredible at fuel saving. We know Trepanier and Jasir have been pushing very, very hard. How will they blend with Modoff and Gonsalves and a few others who have ended up deeper in the field? Out of the penultimate corner, does anybody come down this time? Jasir does, Trepanier does as well, and I think Modoff does in front too. All three of your leaders are in for their final time.
Nicely done up to the commitment cone as well. Jasir keeping it a bit safe to make sure he doesn't rear-end Trepanier. This is about the farthest anybody can go right now. 7 laps to go. This could be the decider if anybody can get it to Olivier with that difference.
It could be Ovando. Remember last week at Road Atlanta, the absolute shocker of Boris Ovando defeating everybody in terms of fuel saving, winning the race out of the pits, and it's only 9.5 seconds for Boris Ovando in the pits. Still not enough to bring down that unassailable gap. It's going to be over 5 seconds for Dominic Olivier in the lead now over Ovando. 3 seconds over Carl Modoff. It was a exciting battle, but not much has changed in terms of the order. I believe Gonsalves has actually jumped Trepanier and Jasir, so he's up into P4. Other than that, though, it's back to the status quo, and Beckham Jasir is going to have to make this move for the top 5 the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, he needs to go. He needs to go. And if someone isn't telling him he needs to go, I'm telling him, go, go, make the pass. But right now, I'm not even sure if he's got the pace to make the pass. If anything, he's dead even now with Trepanier on push mode.
Will it be muy fácil or muy difícil for Beckham Jasir to make this move? It certainly looked difficult for the first 30 minutes of this race, but can he find another gear in the final 10? Again, clipping that curve through TV3. I don't know, Justin, if that's the sign of a driver who absolutely knows the limits of this track, or if that's the sign of a driver who's testing the limits of the track. Either way, he's scaring me every lap through there.
Yeah, that does not look like a comfortable spot. And if anything, Jasir doesn't look like he's comfortable right now. He didn't really get the good arc now for this final sector, rather. If anything, Trepanier might be able to maintain because Jasir is just struggling with some type of push-off.
And every time we've said Jasir's been struggling, though, he's found another gear, so I think maybe he's listening to us. Maybe he has a little bit of an advantage, or it helps him out if we insult him. So come on, Beckham, you're listening to us. We've said you've fallen off. We need you to pick up the pace here and get up to Vincent Trepanier. Let's have a battle for P5. He's certainly trying his darndest, pushing into turn 1 a little bit later on the brakes with some slightly higher downforce. Gonna have to wait basically another half a lap to close back up to Trepanier, but that battle is not gonna end until the checkered flag. He is pushing for everything. We gotta look a little bit deeper in the field. The battle for 19th, unfortunately. Fernando Jaquez, fantastic qualifying, P8, top 10, has fallen off in the race, unfortunately. A little bit of bad luck, taken out on lap 1, or dumped down the order, rather. He's on a recovery drive, and he's gonna try and get Justin Delano in turn 1.
Going back and forth, if anything. And Kaz at this point needs to be smart. That's not as smart. He's got the preferred group, but it is a tight squeeze with how Delano's trying to drive.
Alessandro Torchio in the fray as well. Remember his spin in turn 1. He's on a recovery drive as well. He's going to send the dive into turn 4. Delano shuts the door, though. Justin Delano, another one of those drivers who moved up from the GT3 Fix Series, has been having a little bit of trial by fire this season, learning the ropes of the sprint series, still on the way to one of his best results of the season, though, if he can hang on. He wants to hold off Torquio, though. Torquio's been on the podium this season. That would give Delano a lot of confidence.
Yeah, Delano, for the most part, has picked up spots as the race progressed, mind you, up 7 as a result of the early trouble. But so far just has almost been running in place, because this is a round where he's been hanging out all race long to that Porsche. Still think he can maybe hold off Torquio, because Torquio's still dealing with some of the trouble from earlier on in the race. It's not going to be easy, especially with Magnan also right on behind them. Magnan might be the undercard in this because he's coming in fast.
It's coming in hot, coming in fast, and coming in quick through the penultimate corner. I think Torquio may have a little bit more downforce on that car. He's able to hold the runs, but through the final quarter, he bobbles on entry, loses a ton of ground. And what might have been Torquio's best chance to get by Delano, it's been scuppered by one bobble. That's the problem with Barcelona at times. It's the momentum. It's so important. You bobble in one corner and you're struggling with it for a couple of seconds at the very least.
I think he's also struggling with the back end damage. That's not so much helpful when it comes to that. There is damage for Magnan, but Magnan's more so offset towards the left rear tire. But he seems to be a bit more comfortable in the downforce levels compared to that back bumper downforce being peeled back right at the exhaust pipe.
Torquio later on the brakes. You have to complement that Vulture Motorsports paint scheme. You have to complement that Juncos Hollinger Esports livery as well. Two of the most recognizable cars in the field, finding each other for a position a little bit lower than they would have liked, but either way, putting on a show here in the middle of the field. Torquio in that stealth black with a couple highlights of green Porsche. He's been close, but he's gonna have to wait again through turn 9. He's just bobbling and losing time. How hard is it, Justin, to get that rhythm back, to cool those tires down? Is it almost impossible with only 5 minutes to go?
Extremely difficult, because one of the major keys that comes to mind, more so in terms of the overall context, but it also comes into play a lot for this type of tire. If you slide the tire too much over the course of, say, a lap, you'll have half a lap to recover the tire temperature, or else you end up having that tire basically overheat for much of the rest of the run. You have to go and think big picture if you want to push, because if you overexert the tire, you're going backwards the rest of the run. If you underexert the tire, they won't get up to full temperature, and you're basically driving an underinflated tire and caving in that middle tire layer. So there's a lot of thought process in that. And in turn, if you slide too much, you're basically in trouble. If you don't push enough, you might put yourself in trouble.
Only a few laps to go. I believe when Dominic Olivier crossed the line, that meant 4 laps to go, 3 laps to go at the line. So if you want to make your move, you're going to have to do it very, very soon. Torquio still doing a great job of hunting down Justin Delano, but he's running out of time. And behind the cockpit, I'm sure he's frustrated, I'm sure he's sweaty, and I'm sure he wants this race to be over, but he would want it to be over in one more position higher.
Yeah, you would think so when it comes to how things are playing out right now. But Olivier putting on a masterclass at the top of the board, already setting fast laps again. That's been kind of the tempo throughout the day, and you can say the same for some of the battles up here. Drivers like Torquio had a good chance at a top 10 run. One mistake, now you're back in 20th position. And it's so difficult to recover any mistakes over the course of just 40 minutes, because one bad mistake puts you back at least 20 seconds. Guess what? It's put him back for where he's running, 20 seconds.
We got an even closer battle on track, though. We were looking at that battle for so long because everything else had stratified, but this has absolutely not stratified. Jaquez puts the bumper to Kevin Simpson out of the final corner. I don't think intentionally. He just had that much more of a run. And down the front stretch, Fernando Jaquez up into 17th place. 16th place, David Mendonça a little bit too far ahead, but that was aggressive from Fernando.
I mean, he had the pace. It's either you lift and lose the chance.
Oh, Kevin Simpson.
If he had lifted and waited for the chance, he might have actually hit the back end of Simpson right there instead.
That may be true. Kevin, one of the Lamborghini lovers, one of the last couple representatives of the Lamborghini Legature, falls to the back, or the outside. The top 21, unfortunately, was having a great run until then. This is close as well. Joshua Spears and David Mendonça, two drivers we haven't actually mentioned much all season long. They've been consistent, they've stayed out of trouble, and they've been kind of around here in the teens range of positions. But they've put on a show so far today. We've seen some great passes out of both of these guys, and they might be able to put on a show in the final 2 laps here as David Mendonça searches for the top 15.
And Spears, we talked about the potential of him dropping back. He lost a majority of those spots, as to be expected, based on the pace from earlier. But he's still running the 142s. That's the one bright side. It looks like Torchio has had to tow the car, though, so throw that out the picture, and that's why. Broken car.
I'm surprised he had to tow with that little bit of oh, well, this is why he had to tow, I think. There it is. Oh, he's become Tech Pro. That's an interesting way to go out of the race. We're going to call him Alessandro Tech Pro from now on. Bad luck there. Was having a great run, just ran into some bad luck, but I think he'll be strong at Le Mans. I think he was so strong in race 1 at Watkins Glen, another high-speed track. I think we'll probably see Torchio back to that pace next week. I think he'll be looking for redemption in France.
Yeah, in that sequence, I don't think that was intentional because the hit was on the tire, and when you hit the tire with the damage model, that breaks your axle and disconnects your wheel essentially from that tire. In other words, he had no steering.
3-car battle now. Look at Fernando Jaquez. Where did he come from in this battle? He was a couple seconds back after getting past Kevin Simpson. Suddenly, he's found a ton of speed, and he's getting very aggressive to the inside of David Mendonça, who leaves the door open. I think David knows that Fernando is fast, Fernando is angry, and Fernando is 16th.
And with there being less than 2 laps to go, estimated under a minute on the clock, you take the points. Don't get into a major fight for the teams. Just take the points.
Fernando might have one more spot on him here. Dominic Olivier is going to cross the line to take the white flag in a matter of moments. I believe he already has, actually, so we'll see him in a couple of seconds. But we have to watch Fernando Jaquez in his final charge. He's fast, Fernando. He has been flying, Fernando, but can he be 15th, Fernando? Yes, he can. Right as we look at him, he makes the move in an unorthodox place up into 15th.
Decent recovery, and that's not bad for a car that lost its front bumper. That sent it off the racetrack and then magically got the front bumper back to normal.
You never know what can happen. The magic of iRacing. He's Fernando Jaquez. Sometimes you need a little bit of a hack job, and into the corner up over the top of the hill. It was a pretty straightforward move. A little bit of a mistake out of Josh Spears, and he gets to the inside. But nobody has been better than Dominic Olivier tonight, Justin. Put a stunt on the rest of the field in qualifying, put it on pole, had a fantastic start, and hasn't looked back since. This has been his most dominant race since Fuji earlier this season. And once again, when Dominic Olivier is on it, he is unbeatable.
Strategy on point, speed on point, but even more so, even when he had the massive advantage, was able to save a lot of fuel. That is the major difference, to be able to save that gas and keep that cushion over Modov.
Out of the final corner, the number 9 car. He's won in GT3 this season. He's won in F3 this season, and it has been a dominant Olivier show at Barcelona. He's going to cross the line and win for the 2nd time this season. Karl Modov comes home in a distant 2nd by his standards, 2.5 seconds back. And Boris Ovando, who dominantly won last week, has to settle for 3rd. The battles aren't over yet deeper in the field, though. Sean Dickinson versus Kwok Nin for the final spot in the top 10. Dickinson gets by Kwok, but there's 2 more corners for Kwok to try and find a way past through the final corner. Dickinson's clear. He's got 1 more corner to the line. And on the last lap in the last 2 corners, Dickinson puts that Lamborghini in the top 10.
Nicely done to hold on. Dickinson had little bits of mistakes that put him under pressure, but there's a reason he's your highest running non-Porsche. He's been like that all season long. Great run for Jason Allen. Give him a shout out. Up to 13th, 21 spots up at the end.
That's a big day. Philippe Magnan bringing it across the line here in 19th. Didn't say his name much today, and that's a good thing. That means he didn't run into any trouble. It's going to be a few more drivers on the lead lap, all the way back to Faraz Nasser, who didn't mention him much either in his Ferrari. He's going to finish on the lead lap. A double feature, Justin, of drama and consistency, a tale of two stories, a tale of two races, and two dominant winners in the Porsche.
Absolutely at this point, and I think the 116's out of gas. They are the only driver not to cross the line.
Coast it for us. You can make it. I believe in you.
There's no one out on the track to help him either. He has to do this based on the power of the hill.
Well, Justin, you know why he's going to be able to do this? He drives for Vaporworks Sim Sports. He knows how to make vapor work.
Yeah, I think he might get there at 2 miles an hour.
He's in second gear. You got to put it in neutral for us. Roll down the hill.
Oh, he might.
Crawling.
He's got to get there.
Yay! Well done for us, Nasser. That's one for the highlight reel. Might not be a win, but it's certainly going to feel like it. It was a real win, though, for dominant Dominic Olivier. Chingity ching, hee-haw, hee-haw. Dominic Olivier wins in Barcelona. Carl Modoff comes home in second, and Boris Ovando rounds out the podium. Good race for him. He's going to get some points on Vincent Trepanier. He's going to keep himself in the championship hunt. Jeremy Gonsalves, one of his best races of the season, in fourth, and Vincent Trepanier, one of his worst races of the season, unfortunately down in fifth. Beckham Jasir couldn't get by Trepanier for P5, and then it was Crisp, Genet, Theriault, and Dickinson to the end of the top 10. Kwok Nin lost out in the top 10 on the final lap. He's going to be mad about that. Michael Terrafino in the top dozen, and Jason Allen up 21 spots from his starting position. Then Allen, Puctel, Jaquez, Spears, Mendonça, Delano, Magnan, and poor old Kevin Simpson down to the end of the top 20 with that spin at the end. Ryan O'Connor, Jay Steffi, and the fuel wizard himself, Faraz Nasser, round out the lead lappers. And then we start to get into the used car lot of cars with heavy damage. Torquio ended up in the Tech Pro, Alessandro Tech Pro. Ethan Bass got heavy damage on lap 1. Didn't get to see what happened with him, unfortunately. And Nick McLaughlin, starting from the back, went so well for a while and did not end in the same way. Then it was Miguel Angel Fonseca, Gonzalo Cortez, Diego Morales, Juan Malagon, and a few others who ran into very early trouble. Bartley, Santos, Diaz, Marc-Andre Desjardins, and Noah Anderson all ran into assorted amounts of trouble in the opening laps. But we have a driver, Justin, who ran into no trouble all race long, and he ran into so little trouble that he got one single incident point over the course of the entire race. It was a dominant show. We're going to have to start calling you Dominant Olivier, because once you get out front this season, Dom, you have been unbeatable.
I love that new name. Yeah, man, it was a good race, good performance all around. Pretty happy with that result. Glad to do the hat trick as well with the fastest lap in the pole, get some extra points in the bag. Had a little bit of a scare in the beginning, lost my electricity for about 20 minutes just before, hopped back in right as quali started, so pretty happy with this result.
Yeah, we almost forgot about that with how dominant you were. You were about a second away from not being on the grid, so I think that makes it that much more impressive. We're off to Le Mans next week. Obviously a place where drivers have a lot of experience, but not necessarily a place we run all the time in the PRL. How are you feeling about that very, very long track in the French countryside?
Oh man, thankfully it's a Porsche Cup in the league, and the Porsche is pretty bad at the track right now. Nobody's using it in the regular official races. So it's going to be interesting. It's gonna come down to who has the biggest balls to take the lowest wing, because the Porsche is not very good on low wing, and it's going to be sketchy. So I'm looking forward to it.
We love sketchiness here in the booth. We're looking forward to seeing that. But for now, enjoy celebrating your win, and we will see you next week, Mr. Dominant Olivier.
Thank you. See you guys.
Dominic Olivier, P1, but we got P2 as well, as we always do. Carl Modoff is here, and he's with Justin Prince.
Well, Carl, you tried the different strategy, pitted at the halfway mark. Talk us through the decision to pit at halfway, try the different strat. 3 seconds longer in the pit stop delta in terms of the fuel.
Yeah, I didn't know if I'd be able to get by him. Vincent, when I was behind him, his pace started falling off with his tires, and it's just so hard to follow to the final 2 corners. So I didn't know. I thought my best option would be to kind of pit early, maybe take a strat that was a little more aggressive. Kind of didn't work out once I came out in traffic. That really kind of backfired. I really needed to make good pace in the first 2 laps, but Dominic drove a great lap, great race, and the way he was holding on to those tires throughout was really impressive.
How difficult was it to pick the spots there? Because at one point, Pardon me, I have a cat sitting on my keyboard. I was about to say, Vincent Trepanier was in front of you for a bit talking about the picking the spots there.
Yeah, no, that was great being able to get by him. Just being the guy I was behind right there in the championship. Being able to get by him and make a little bit of progress in that regard is awesome. Feels great. It's got a bummer to finish P2, so close. But at the same time, another strong result for the championship, so that feels really rewarding.
And talking about that championship, coming into tonight, the points penalty implemented for Trepanier, put him 10 points back. You build up the buffer now with a couple races to go. All of a sudden, going from a +8 entering the night to now putting yourself up about double digits. So what's that focus now going to be like, knowing you're up double digits with that penalty applied to Trepanier?
Just the same week, same approach every week. I didn't know he had a penalty. That's a bummer to see for him. It was nice. I wanted to go down to the wire, and I'm sure it still will. There's still 2 races, and we've seen every race. It's close. The next 3-4 guys are all really close as well. So one really bad race at this point can really shake things up. So just trying to make sure I'm prepared, have a good strategy, and good pace. Just trying to come up with some more strong results.
Well, congrats on the podium once more, Carl.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your broadcasting. Thanks, PRL. Thanks, Delta Sport. See you guys.
Once again, Carl Modov, second spot tonight. Boris Avando getting to third spot at the end of the race, holding off his teammate Gonzalez. He's with Joey.
Indeed, he did. Boris, sort of a tale of 2 races for you. Did great work in the pits this week again with the fuel saving, shorter stop than anybody else. But what changed this week that lost you ground with Dom?
Now, unfortunately, I got a bad start, Honestly, I was cold during the quali. I barely snuck in that lap that put me P3. I was sleeping on the start, and unfortunately, Vincent kind of got in front of me, and I couldn't brake late or anything, so that gave Carl and Beckham just the left side to exploit, and I ended up falling behind Beckham, and he overcooked his tires, and I just had to sit behind because it's so hard to pass, but eventually his pace dropped off enough that I needed to pass, but it was a little too late. But at least the P3, so we'll see what we can do next week.
And now that the session has ended, all of your secrets have been revealed. We see you had 10 incident points at the end of the race. How careful were you being at the end there, knowing that you were right on the precipice of that penalty at 13 points? How careful did you have to be?
Well, you always got to use the incidents. It's not, you just don't want to get the 4Xs and the 2Xs. But you got to push the track limits. That's what racing is about. And so I tried to not use all of them, but a certain amount, especially if you're catching somebody or if you're trying to maintain a position. But in this case, honestly, that fast right-hander right before the backstretch, it's so tough to just keep the car on the track if you miss the apex. And pretty much all of them came from there, to be honest.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, if I was out on track with you, Boris, I'd be at 17 incident points and disqualified within the first 15 minutes. So you're still doing pretty darn well. Congrats on the podium, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Joey. Take care, man.
Boris Ovando coming home on the podium. It's been his best season ever in PRL GT3 so far, Justin. Still a couple points out of the championship lead. He's going to need a big week next weekend in the finale to fight for it. But it has been a fantastic season of GT3 racing so far. It's been a fantastic night of GT3 racing so far, and next week, it is off to the big track. It's off to the big palace in France. It's off to Le Mans.
French countryside, indeed, going to be very French, indeed, going to be very countryside, indeed, going to be very fast, is what I'm trying to say. Especially that run up the Mulsanne Straight, to be able to battle it out around the racetrack. You better be dialed in on speed, because if you don't have the speed, well, you'll be left in the dust.
Gonna have to start practicing our French. We didn't break out as much Spanish this week as I would have liked, so we'll start studying up. The old Canadian French curriculum will come into the fray. Tomorrow night, there's even more PRL action. It's the NASCAR Truck Series and NASCAR Xfinity Series, but until we see you then, I've been Joey Tebben, Justin Prince has been Justin Prince, and our producer has been Hugo Luis. Until we see you next time, adios.